हाँ चालू है, थोड़ी देर में यहाँ पे जैसे तो रेगुलर हो जाएंगे, वहाँ पे रेगुलर।
Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her. Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her. Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her. Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her.
To buy materialistic things. Money is to lead a very good life. I'm sure after today's session.
Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her.
To buy materialistic things. Money is to lead a very good life. I'm sure after today's session.
Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her.
To buy materialistic things. Money is to lead a very good life. I'm sure after today's session.
Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her.
To buy materialistic things. Money is to lead a very good life. I'm sure after today's session.
Money की बात अल्फा के साथ. Anyone can subscribe to the channel and follow her.
Thank you so much to all our dignitaries for coming forward for the lamp lighting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as God Gopal Das rightly says, that our mutual funds and our relationship have one thing in common. We must invest in lamp lighting before we can withdraw. Well, ladies and gentlemen, really, I have repeated God the Gopal Das rightly says, hence that it is an mutual funds and our relationship it also has its own value. We must invest in lamp lighting mutual fund we can withdraw. Well, ladies and gentlemen, really, I have repeated God the Gopal Das what is he says, hence that it is a mutual funds and our relationship it also has its own value. We must invest in mutual fund we can withdraw. Let us now today, I have repeated what is he says, hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has its own value. We must invest in mutual fund we can withdraw. Let us now today, I have repeated what is he says, hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has its own value. We must invest in mutual fund we can withdraw. Let us now today, I have repeated financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask and our relationship it also has to pass some light. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe as financial professionals as hence I would now like to ask.
गणनायकाय गणदेवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीक्षाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि धीमहि वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि सुखमनसे गुरुपूजिताय गुरुदेवताय गुरुकुलस्थाय गुरुविक्रमाय प्रवराय गुरुवे गुरुदेव
industry, which is biggest initiatives of the industry, which is suppose initiatives of the industry, which is industry में suppose initiatives of the industry में But at the end of the day, something that will do their job. But at the end of the day, something that is our responsibility and something जो will do their job. But at the end of the day, तो change नहीं कर पाऊंगा. Pandemic ने हमें सिखाया है कि चीजें बड़ी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है. Will do both in terms of, but at the end of the day, how many of you that is our responsibility. ऐसा पलक झप जो पलक झप तो 2020 but at the end of the day तो 4 साल कहाँ चले गए तो पता ही pandemic ने हमें सिखाया है कि we are not चीजें बड़ी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है both in terms of, but at the end of the day how many of that we will our responsibility. ऐसा पलक झप जो but at the end of the day 4 साल कहाँ चले गए अगर pandemic ने हमें सिखाया है कि we are not चीजें बड़ी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है both in terms of, but at the end of the day how many of that we will our responsibility. ऐसा पलक झप जो and focus on ourselves. but at the end of the day 4 साल कहाँ चले गए अगर pandemic ने हमें सिखाया है कि we are not चीजें बड़ी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है both in terms of, but at the end of the day how many of that we will our responsibility. and focus on ourselves. but at the end of the day very fast track ऐसा पलक झप जो doubt नहीं है. so and focus on ourselves. but at the end of the day 4 साल कहाँ चले गए pandemic ने हमें सिखाया है कि we are not चीजें बड़ी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है both in terms of, but at the end of the day how many of that can say our responsibility. and focus on ourselves. but at the end of the day very fast track ऐसा पलक झप doubt but I'm not focus on ourselves. but at the end of the day 4 साल कहाँ चले गए pandemic ने हमें सिखाया है कि we are not चीजें बड़ी तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है both in terms of, but at the end of the day how many of that can say our responsibility. another favorite topics on which we today have a panel discussion as well. Eventually, friends, we all have learned from Carl Richards or Nick Murray or Taleb that ये fund manager अपना काम कर ले, market ऊपर नीचे चली जाए, returns have happened and they will keep happening. पर एक चीज अगर हमारे grip में नहीं आई, तो सब कुछ पानी बराबर है. वो और ये हम किसके behavior की बात कर रहे हैं? Not only clients' behavior, but our own behavior, our own persona. Agree? A very important topic. Last but not the least, again inspired by pandemic and the way things have happened, BCP. How many of us understand BCP? What is BCP? Business Continuity Planning. Right? कि अगर हम लोग एक मेरे हिसाब से एक illusion, एक mirage, एक bubble में जी रहे हैं कि मैं 200 साल तक जीने वाला हूँ. Right? And that is the same logic which applies on the insurance industry as well, which sort of doesn't allow it to grow to a level where it has to go. सबको लगता है नहीं, मुझे कुछ नहीं होगा. शर्मा जी को हो जाएगा, मेहता जी को हो जाएगा, मुझे कुछ नहीं होगा. But pandemic has proven things otherwise. So very important, friends, each one of us, including me, we think of a business continuity planning. कि सही अगर मेरे पास ये 200 करोड़ के assets बने हैं, 500 करोड़ के assets बने हैं, और मेरे पास एक next generation घर पर है, मैं इसे कैसे अभी से prepare करूं अगले 3, 4, 5, 6 सालों में, so that there is a superb support. Bhushetty ji has got his daughter here. I would like to have a special round of applause for Vaishnavi, who sort of taken this thought. I'm very sure आपके भी families में there would be somebody in the next generation waiting to take up this charge. So BCP is very very critical. Ambani से लेकर anybody must think about it, and they are already doing it. So that is the flavor of what is coming up in next 9 to 10 months. Are you all excited? How excited? Very excited. नहीं पहुंच रहे. अगर really excited है तो चिल्लाइए. और जोर से चिल्लाइए. 2033 की तरफ ये हमारा पहला कदम है in the year 2023 that we are taking a massive step. This day will go down in the history of mutual fund industry, financial services industry in golden letters. How many of us agree over here? And on that note, Mr. Nimesh Shah is here right at the point to sort of unveil the next steps. And Mr. Hari, sorry, I got carried away one of my ex-mentors as well. Apologies. So on that note, thank you so much. And I would like to invite Mr. Hari to please come. Okay, so sorry.
Thank you so much, thank you. And on behalf of our host Empower Education, let's move on to our other agenda. And I think he has already informed, he's done my job, but I would still like to take this opportunity, and I also have the privilege and honor to welcome our chief guest, Mr. K. Hari, one of the veteran in financial industry. Mr. Hari is with NSE since 1995, handling various functions like trading capital market, debt segment, and futures and options segment, clearing and settlement, membership and member service management, listing, SME, corporate communications, and business development. He was also involved in Mr. Hari as well NSE since emerged that was launched by various functions at NSE today. Capital market, responsible for business development and options equities and clearing and settlement segment, memberships and member service management, listing and commodities, corporate communication and business development. Mr. Hari is also involved in Mr. Hari as well NSE and emerged that was launched by various functions at NSE capital market, all of you responsible for the huge applause, achievements of communities, Mr. Hari membership and member service management, listing and commodities, corporate communication and business development. Mr. Hari is also involved in Mr. Hari as well and emerged that was launched by various functions at NSE capital market, all of you responsible for the huge applause, achievements of communities, Mr. Hari membership and member service management, listing and commodities, corporate communication and business development. Mr. Hari is also involved in Mr. Hari as well and emerged that was launched by various functions at NSE capital market, all of you responsible for the huge applause, chief guest of the Ladies Secretary Harijit members of the management, correcting and promoting corporate communication and business development. Mr. Hari is the first involved in corporate. Mr. Hari has been campaign and community satisfied and chairman as honoring and I would request all of you responsible with a huge applause a chief guest of the Ladies Secretary Harijit members of the management, correcting and promoting corporate communication and business development. Mr. Hari is the first involved in corporate. Mr. Hari has been campaign and community satisfied and chairman as honoring and I would request all of you responsible with a huge applause a chief guest of the Ladies Secretary Harijit members of the management, correcting and promoting corporate communication and business development. Mr. Hari is the first involved in corporate. Mr. Hari has been campaign and community satisfied and chairman as honoring and I would request all of you responsible with a huge applause a chief
is happening in the invariably ICICI will come 30 साल कंट्री लेके जाता है, ज्यादा करना नहीं पड़ता है, राइट. एक्चुअली पीपल टेल मी स्ट्रेटेजी, मैं 15 साल से लेक्चर दे रहा हूँ, लास्ट 8-10 साल से मैं तकरीबन सेम लेक्चर देता हूँ, राइट. ज्यादा चेंज भी नहीं होता है. इवन व्हेन आई टॉक टू माय बोर्ड लास्ट 7-8 years द स्लाइड्स टू द बोर्ड हैव नॉट चेंज्ड, राइट. इट इज हर साल नया स्ट्रेटेजी कहां से लाओ, राइट. इट्स अ मोनोलाइन, right? It's I've got a single product, right? And the factors that affect the product are also the same. Sir, record मत कीजिए, freely बात करने दीजिए मेरे. इधर पीछे ही से भी है. हाँ, लाइव ब्रॉडकास्ट हो रहा है. So coming to this one, I feel that we are in a very super country, right? When I work with ICICI. There are 3 I's in that, right? And I believe the 3 I's is one for India, second is this industry, and third is being with ICICI. तो तीनों, I told you invariably आ जाएगा वो, मैं नहीं ट्राई करूंगा तो भी आ जाएगा. So what my thoughts have always been that बस देखो ये कंट्री में ग्रोथ अपॉर्चुनिटी बहुत है, ज्यादा कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है, अगर गलती नहीं करेंगे तो ठीक रहेंगे, right? The last 15 years I have been with ICICI Prudential. We have not tried to excel or we beat everybody else. Mr. Mantri is from HDFC earlier. HDFC has been a super benchmark for me always in life, right? HDFC has run its business very well. I tried to be as good as HDFC. That was always the mantra, right? Milind Barve and Prashant Jain were doing a very good job, and we thought we should exactly do what they have been doing. So it's a very simple thing. Don't goof up. If you don't goof up, you'll be okay, because there will others who will suddenly become stars and will goof up, right? So wait for them to goof up and you'll be okay. So ज़्यादा कुछ, and I've been, we don't even tell our fund manager to be in the top quartile. मेरे fund managers पे कोई pressure नहीं है, boss top quartile performance दो. I'm okay with second quartile performance, right? Because second quartile if you aim, if you don't try to be too hero बनने जाओगे ना तो zero भी होंगे, right? So if you don't try to do too much, right, you will at least not fail. I don't want to be the bottom quartile. मेरा ब्रांड है और मैं सेकंड क्वार्टाइल दूंगा तो मेरा आप लोग अपने कस्टमर को दिखा पाओगे. रीजनेबल, अगर एक कस्टमर को 6 म्यूचुअल फंड दिखाओगे तो प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गेटिंग एन ICICI सिलेक्टेड वुड बी रीजनेबल इफ यू डोंट गो फॉर. Somewhere one of my friends who has started his own mutual fund, I was telling him that was for you to be successful, you will have to be in the top decile always, right? People will sell you on your name if you are top decile. For an ICICI, for an SBI, for an HDFC, we are acceptable if we are in the top 2 quartile. So my whole endeavor is that after, I'm not running ICICI Prudential Asset Management. I'm running ICICI Prudential Risk Management. अगर अपने वहाँ सबको ग्लैमर है फंड मैनेजर को सुनने का, राइट? पर हमारे वहाँ एक बंदा है अमित भोसले, right? A lot of you from Pune have met Amit Bhosle. When you come to our office, you have met Amit Bhosle. According to me, all glamour is with the fund managers. But according to me, the most important person for distribution to meet would be Amit Bhosle. Because he gives the framework for every fund manager, how much he can move. Bhosle है, हाँ, शिवाजी का डिसिडेंट है, हाँ, तो वो बहुत क्लियर है कि ये फंड मैनेजर इतना कर सकता है, इसके बियॉन्ड नहीं कर सकता है, राइट? सो एवरी फंड मैनेजर इज गिवन हिज बाउंड्रीज. डिस्कवरी क्या कर सकता है, क्या नहीं कर सकता है, डिस्कवरी कितना रिस्क ले सकता है, इज डिसाइडेड बाय अमित भोसले. ब्लू चिप क्यों कुछ नहीं कर सकता है? ब्लू चिप डज नॉट गो फॉर, राइट? डिस्कवरी में ऊपर नीचे होता है, पर डिस्कवरी में ऊपर नीचे होता है, 2 साल तक परफॉर्मेंस नहीं आता है. पर ब्लू चिप में ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, क्योंकि ब्लू चिप में कुछ लेने की करने की क्षमता ही नहीं है. अमित भोसले हैज डिसाइडेड दैट ब्लू चिप कांट डू मच, राइट? ब्लू चिप कैन ओनली टेक 2% ओवरवेट और 2% अंडरवेट, ज्यादा कुछ करो मत, राइट? तो गूफ अप नहीं होने का. While Discovery, Naren can take any calls that he wants. He'll take concentrated calls, he'll take contra calls, he will do many things in Discovery. So Discovery will have times where it will not perform, but it will not perform for 2 years. But then in 2 weeks time it will catch up. But so what my whole thing is that we run, when you are, I always thought that when I become big, as the scale increases, is your ability, my topic is scale. So as the scale increases, your ability to take risk increases or decreases? According to me, normally people say you can take more risk when you become bigger because you have got more capital, right? In a bank, आई वुड से मेरा नेटवर्क ज्यादा है, मेरा स्केल ज्यादा है, तो मैं रिस्क ले सकता है, एक छोटा बैंक रिस्क नहीं ले सकता है. बट इन अ म्यूचुअल फंड आई रियलाइज वन थिंग, एज द स्केल इंक्रीजेस, राइट, यू कैनॉट, माई एबिलिटी टू रिस्क एक्चुअली कीप्स ऑन गोइंग डाउन. मुझे रिस्क लेना ही नहीं है, मैं बिना रिस्क के ग्रो हो सकता हूं, तो रिस्क लेके क्यों ग्रो हो, राइट? नहीं तो दुनिया भर में एक्सप्लेन करोगे. बीच में आया था एक म्यूचुअल फंड, हमको हमेशा बोलता था, हम सब जो रिटर्न दे रहे थे वो पर्टिकुलर फंड हाउस 2% ज्यादा दे रहा था. आपने भर भर के पैसे दिए उनको. हाँ, डेट फंड का चैंपियन था, 2% ज्यादा मिल रहा था, राइट? आप सबने दिए. जब रिस्क एक्चुअली, see there is only one way. I always said, you have heard me before on this, the only, I had said before the event, right, 5 years back I have told you, the only way to generate more return in a credit risk fund is by taking more credit risk. आप पूना मार्केट में 1.5% भी मिल सकता है महीने का, साल का 18% भी मिल सकता है. आप क्यों नहीं देते हो? क्योंकि उधर रिस्क ज्यादा है. सो अगर कोई 2% ज्यादा देता है मेरे क्रेडिट रिस्क फंड से, हाउ कैन यू गिव 2% मोर? इट इज नॉट दैट ट्रेडिंग कैपेबिलिटी उसमें ज्यादा चाहिए, कोई ऐसा स्किल सेट नहीं है दैट यू नीड मोर, राइट? यू नीड टू टेक मोर क्रेडिट रिस्क टू जनरेट मोर क्रेडिट रिटर्न, राइट? सो हाउ कम then how, what is so unique? So when the credit risk actually played out, everybody got surprised. अरे ऐसा कैसे हो गया? अरे तुमने पढ़ा नहीं, उसने तो हर महीने लिख के दिया था ना उसका पोर्टफोलियो क्या है, राइट? सबने देखा था, पर जब गलत हुआ तो बोला नहीं नहीं हमको तो पता ही नहीं था, तुम पता नहीं था, तुमने देखा नहीं था. So my model is very clear. I don't want to, I believe that my retired school teacher in Guwahati is my customer, right? And according to me, the HNI's risk-taking ability is also the same as the retired school teacher of Guwahati. किसी को पैसा गवाना नहीं है, right? 98.2% of the customers are very happy earning something more if you give them a double-digit return over a period of time. 98% of the customers will be super happy. उसके beyond जिसका acceptance है तो I am happy with 98% of the customers. 2% छोड़ दो, मेरे को नहीं चाहिए, right? 98% कस्टमर मेरे लिए ठीक है. तो मेरा मॉडल ही ये है. सो आई रन आईसीआईसीआई प्रूडेंशियल रिस्क मैनेजमेंट कंपनी बिकॉज आई नो देयर इज सो मच मनी लाइंग, राइट? द कस्टमर, व्हाट डज द कस्टमर इन इंडिया वांट्स? वेयर इज ही गिवन हिज मैक्सिमम मनी टू? वेयर इज द मैक्सिमम मनी सिटिंग? बैंक एफडी. 170 लाख करोड़. हम लोग इधर 40 लाख करोड़ पे क्या खुश हो रहे हैं, राइट? उधर 170 लाख करोड़. आई नो आई एम स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय आईसीआईसीआई बैंक, right? My sponsor is ICICI Bank, but I'm still saying as the economy develops, right? As the per capita goes beyond 2000, which it is going, slowly the depositor will get converted into a investor, right? This has happened all around the world. It is happening right now in India, right? The depositor will get converted into investor. So if you have to run 170 lakh crores, right? 10 years back, we were 11% of the Indian banking industry, right? We were a mutual fund industry 10 years back was 11% of the banking industry. Today it is 22% of the banking industry. 10 साल में इतना चेंज हुआ. क्या नेक्स्ट 10 साल में ये 30% ऑफ द बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री, 1/3 ऑफ द बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री हो जाएगा? और तब तक बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री कहां चली जाएगी? तो 2030 में देयर आर वेरियस मेथड्स ऑफ इवैल्यूएटिंग 2030 में क्या होगा. जितना दूर जाते हो ना उतना प्रेडिक्ट करना इजी है, राइट? 2030, 2033 जितना दूर जाते हो 2050 और इजी है, राइट? 2023 में क्या होगा वो पूछेगा तो पता नहीं, राइट? सो दैट इज, इट इज इजी टू टॉक अबाउट 2030, बट व्हाटएवर वी आर सीइंग, आई थिंक इफ वी, द वे न्यू म्यूचुअल फंड कस्टमर्स आर कमिंग इन, हम भी म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, सेबी का जो कैंपेन है म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, दैट इज वर्किंग वेल. You guys are not, somebody said you guys are doing, introducing new customers. गलत है, right? I have seen data before I came into the room. ये लोग को ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है नया कस्टमर्स में. पुराना कस्टमर्स इतना रेवेन्यू दे रहा है, नया कस्टमर्स का क्या जरूरत है? सो मैं डेटा देख के आया हूं, मैंने डेटा मंगवाया था कि बस जो आ रहे हैं उन्होंने कितना नया कस्टमर दिया. उनको ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. पुराना कस्टमर्स आर गिविंग वेरी गुड रेवेन्यू, राइट? उनको ही 88%, इवन द बिजनेस इज सच that 88% of what ICICI Prudential does is with the existing customers. So what works in this business is happy customers. If the customer has got a good return from you, the probability of he investing with, इसमें ज्यादा data analytics भी नहीं चाहिए. मेरे पास एक data scientist भी आजकल, हाँ, तो वो ऐसा बहुत एनालिसिस करके जो लेके आता है, मैं सोचता हूँ, मैं तो कॉमन सेंस के लिए भी वही पता था, जो कस्टमर ने तुम्हारे पास अच्छा काम, who has made money out of you, will invest further in you. So I am quite bullish that 170 lakh crores, if in 7 years, if this is going to become 350 lakh crores, and we become 1/3 of the banking industry, will be 120 lakh crores by 2030. Right? 120 lakh crores आज 40 लाख करोड़ है, तो नेक्स्ट 7 साल में मैंने 25 साल में जो किया है ना, उसका डबल करना है. राइट? इफ आई टू मेंटेन माय मार्केट शेयर. सो एक्चुअली द इशू इज नॉट कि ग्रोथ होएंगे कि नहीं, इशू इज ग्रोथ मैनेज कर पाएंगे कि नहीं. Right? I don't think the challenge in this country is whether we'll grow or not. The challenge is whether we will be able to manage that growth. So there is a tremendous opportunity in front of you. There is a tremendous opportunity in front of me. और मेरे से business से आपका business ज़्यादा better है. Right? I am very clear on that your business is much better than mine. Even the market is saying that. It is not that only I am saying that. अपना one of the best mutual funds in the country, HDFC का PE ratio कितना है? हाँ? HDFC mutual fund का PE ratio कितना है? 30. और Prudent का PE ratio कितना है? हाँ 60 का है, 55 का कुछ है. तो मार्केट भी बोल रहा है कि कौन सा बिजनेस बेटर है. राइट? सो यू आर सिटिंग, क्योंकि मेरे बिजनेस में तो बहुत रिस्क है. आप मेरे कस्टमर को ही रोज अलग अलग म्यूचुअल फंड दिखा रहे हो. राइट? मेरा जो कस्टमर है आईसीआईसीआई प्रूडेंशियल का, उसको जाके आप बिरला दिखाते हो, उसको आप एचडीएफसी दिखाते हो, उसको मेरा ही दिखाते हो. एक जन पराग पारेख का शर्ट पहन के भी बैठा है पीछे. हाँ, पहले आपके रूम में मैंने यही देखा. हाँ, दिखता है. हाँ, पहले ऐसा आई वाज ट्रेन दैट वे. हाँ, वो लास्ट रूम में भी बैठा है तो भी दिखता है. हाँ. So your business is better than mine because your customer is not going anywhere. Right? वो तो आपके ऊपर, आपके पास उतना कंपटीशन नहीं है. Right? Because how many distributors are there in the country? How many distributors are there across the country who earn more than 10 lakh rupees out of mutual fund business? 10,000 भी नहीं है. Around 10,000 people earn more than 10 lakh rupees from mutual fund business. So there is absolutely no competition. Right? इसलिए आपका PE ratio मेरा PE ratio से higher है. हाँ? So it's a good business as long as we don't go for. But I have realized, I have done one thing that I can brag about. What ICICI has done well is that we always believed in scale. Right? जो भी हम करते हैं पूरा इंडिया में, हमको मिस्टर कामत का सिखाया है कि जो भी करो स्केल पे करो और पूरा इंडिया को इन्फ्लुएंस होना चाहिए. Right? We are not a niche player. Right? We are a scale player. So when you run business at a scale, one is that it's only risk management. If you are risk management and you also, our business is exactly the same. आप भी एसेट एलोकेशन करते हो, मैं भी एसेट एलोकेशन करता हूँ. मैं कुछ फंड मैनेजर को लगा के स्टॉक पिकिंग करता हूँ. राइट? दैट इज द ओनली डिफरेंस बिटवीन योर बिजनेस एंड माय बिजनेस. बट द ड्राइवर्स ऑफ द बिजनेस आर सेम. अपना बिजनेस बढ़िया है, रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी इनफाइनाइट. राइट? इट इज सच अ ग्रेट बिजनेस. राइट? इट इज पैसा लगाना ही नहीं है, मेहनत लगानी है, दिमाग लगाना है. राइट? पैसे नहीं लगाने. तो मेरे को जिधर भी बिना पैसा लगाए पैसा बन सकता है ना, वो बहुत अच्छा लगता है. Right? The return on equity of this business, of your business and my business is infinite because denominator तो zero है, skill set ही लगाना है. So in this business, I have realized one thing, I am reducing risk every day. Right? Risk management and how I am doing. We are trying to create, see what we have done. We have realized, I have told you this even 7 years back when I came to Pune, that at every 30, 40, 50,000, earlier I was saying 30, 40,000 crores, nowadays I am saying 50,000 crores. I had said very clearly at every 50,000 crores, I will create a new AMC. Right? I used to say 40,000 crores, now I am saying 50,000 crores. That at every 50,000 crores, I will create a new AMC. How to manage scale? Today we manage 2,60,000 crores of equity. Right? Equity mutual funds, 2,60,000 crores. If I use the word Narenization. Right? I've never allowed Narenization of the company to happen. Naren is the face of the company. Right? He's one of the most credible person in the market, and he gives a super confidence to the customer when they listen to him. Right? But inside Naren is the CI of the company. But Naren himself manages what percentage of the funds that we have? Any idea? Naren manages at any point of time. We have had this rule that Naren manages only 20% of the money that we have. आप check कर लो. Right? आप कभी भी जाके check कर लो. Naren has ensured, he himself, both of us have agreed that if we have to manage scale, you cannot concentrate all AUM with one person. You keep on dividing. राइट। पहले हमारे पास नरेंद्र था, मनीष गुरवानी था, मृणाल था, राइट। उसके बाद मृणाल और जिसको भी हम डेप्यूटी सीआईओ बनाते हैं उसको और कोई सीआईओ करके ले लेते हैं। पर तो हमने एक फैक्ट्री लगाई। हमने मेरे म्यूचुअल फंड में आज तक कोई फंड मैनेजर नहीं है जिन्होंने बाकी कोई कंपनी में म्यूचुअल फंड मैनेजर बन के काम किया है। There is not a single person in my mutual fund section, right, who have worked with some other mutual fund as a fund manager, because we create our own fund manager. मेरे वहां तो बहुत एक्साइटमेंट होता है, कोई फंड मैनेजर छोड़ के जाता है, खुशी की लहर दौड़ जाती है कंपनी में, क्योंकि बाकी सब फंड मैनेजर को पता है कि उसको कुछ नया फंड मिलेगा, राइट। सबको लालच आ जाती है कि मेरे को मिलेगा। सो what we have done is we have created a factory of fund managers. If we have to create scale, right, at every 50,000 crores I need to create a new AMC. I have learned this from US AMCs, right? What do US AMCs? मैं 2009 में US गया था और मैंने एकदम स्टाइल में BNY मेलन करके एक फंड था, उसको मैंने पूछा व्हाट इज योर स्टाइल, नया नया वर्ड सीखा था, स्टाइल वाइल ये सब। तो बोला व्हाट इज योर स्टाइल ऑफ फंड मैनेजमेंट, तो उसने बोला व्हिच स्टाइल डू यू वांट, इफ यू वांट वैल्यू वी हैव गॉट अ टीम इन न्यूयॉर्क, if you want growth we have got somebody in this one, technology we have got somebody in San Francisco, if you have got this style I have got a team in London, if you want FMCG I have got a team in Hong Kong। तो वो लोग क्या करते हैं, यूएस में सब बुटीक खरीदते रहते हैं, राइट। वो लोग जो भी एक फंड मैनेजर है अपना दुकान चला रहा है खुद का, उसका $1 बिलियन आ जाता है तो जाके एक बड़ा जेपी मॉर्गन करके फंड हाउस जाके खरीद लेगा उसको और बोलेगा कंप्लायंस मेरा, सेल्स मेरा, सब कुछ मेरा, फंड मैनेजमेंट तो इंडिपेंडेंट कर। तो सब लोग नया अलग 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 टीम बनाते हैं। तो यूएस में वो लोग एक्विजिशन करते हैं, हम लोग यहाँ खुद का, क्योंकि इधर सबका एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड्स अलग होता है, सबका कंप्लायंस स्टैंडर्ड अलग होता है, बहुत संभालना पड़ता है। व्हेन यू आर मैनेजिंग समबडी एल्सेस मनी योर कंप्लायंस स्टैंडर्ड्स हैव टू बी अप देयर, राइट। सो व्हाट वी डू, वी मैन्युफैक्चर आवर ओन फंड मैनेजर्स so that when we create scale, when I am sitting on 2,50,000 crores I have to be ready for 5 lakh crores of AUM in equity, राइट। क्योंकि जब 5 लाख करोड़ होगा तभी फंड मैनेजर लेने नहीं जाऊंगा ना। आज अगर इन्वेस्ट किया है और आज अगर बनाया है तो धीरे धीरे मैं उसको दे पाऊंगा। जब मैं 50,000 करोड़ पे था, जो लॉन्ग बैक नहीं था, 2015 में ही था, ज्यादा दूर नहीं था। 2015 में मैंने बोला था जब मैं 50,000 क्रॉस किया था दैट आई हैव टू कैपेसिटाइज। हम सिंगापुर में मिले थे, आप में से बहुत जन थे, तभी मैंने बोला था मैं 50,000 करोड़ पे है, मैं 1 लाख करोड़ का इक्विटी AUM बढ़ाएगा। नीचे आया था, सब बड़ा बोला, बड़ा बड़ा बात कर रहा है। But it is not that difficult in this industry. If you don't goof up, you will become automatically. See, Prudent has taught me. Sanjay Bhai of Prudent has taught me this. He always says 1% of your AUM should be your SIP book. वो हमने ICICI Prudential में अमर शाह का वो टारगेट है, राइट, कि 1% ऑफ AUM अगर सिप बुक बना दिया ना, योर लाइफ इज मेड, राइट। 12% ग्रोथ तो ऐसे ही हो जाएगा सिप से, 10% ग्रोथ मार्केट दे देगा। अगर दोनों हुआ तो 22-23% ग्रोथ ऐसे ही, और 22-23 3 साल में डबल हो गया। 3 साल में डबल होने की क्षमता भी, मैनेज करने की भी क्षमता होनी चाहिए ना। तो वी शुड मोर बॉदर, आई कम विद माय फर्स्ट लाइन दैट आई एम मोर कंसर्न्ड अबाउट मैनेजिंग दिस कैपेसिटी rather than trying to grow, right? If I manage it well, and how are we managing it? It is common between the two of us. जो आपके बिजनेस के ड्राइवर है और जो मेरे बिजनेस के ड्राइवर है, exactly same है, right? So what is required to manage scale is that portfolio में से रिस्क कम करो, right? So we have been promoting BAF 10 साल से। मेरा ऐसा कभी कभी बेटा भी कुछ पूछता है ना तो मैं BAF बोल देता, क्योंकि इतना आदत हो गया है सब टॉक्स में BAF 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 बोलने का, right? So मैं 10 साल से हम लोग एक ही चीज बोल रहे हैं, BAF करो, बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड। जैसा इक्विटी मार्केट ऊपर जाता है आपका एक्सपोजर, व्हाट वाज दैट? दैट इज टू प्रोटेक्ट माय ब्रांड। नो, दिस बिजनेस इज ऑल अबाउट ट्रस्ट, इट इज ऑल अबाउट ब्रांड। सो द ओनली वे टू प्रोटेक्ट, क्योंकि इक्विटी में जब नुकसान होगा कस्टमर तो हमको ही ब्लेम करेगा। हम तो शायद बीकेसी में बैठे हैं, हम बोलेगा मार्केट हैज फॉलन 20%, वी हैव एक्चुअली आउट परफॉर्म बाय फॉलिंग ओनली 14%। हम तो ऐसा बीकेसी में बैठ के कुछ इंटेलेक्चुअल बोल देंगे, पर आपको तो कस्टमर को फेस करना है ना, जिसका 14% पैसा गया है, तो आपका जॉब ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट है। सो दैट इज वेयर आई ऑलवेज से दैट इट इज बेटर टू ऑलवेज गिव कंजर्वेटिव प्रोडक्ट्स, राइट। सो व्हाट आई हैव डन इज दैट वन इज दिस होल बैलेंस एडवांटेज कैटेगरी। वी आर वेरी हैप्पी दैट वी क्रिएटेड दैट कैटेगरी, राइट। मैं सेबी में जाके अभी बोलता हूँ कि मैंने ये क्रेडिट किया, मैं अपने आप को क्रेडिट देता हूँ कि हमने ये BAF, उसको तो वॉलेटिलिटी एडवांटेज फंड बोलते थे। ऑल यू रिमेंबर ऑफ पीपल हु आर देयर हु हैव बीन डूइंग आवर बिजनेस, आई वाज सो प्राउड। जब बीकेसी में बैठ के सोचते हो ना तो वॉलेटिलिटी एडवांटेज फंड सोचते हो। वो फंड बढ़ ही नहीं रहा था, 300 करोड़ का फंड पे अटक गया था वॉलेटिलिटी। तो मैं एक बार रांची गया था, बीकेसी से कभी बाहर निकला और रांची गया, तो रांची में प्रदीप जी मिले, वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स ऑफ रांची। तो उन्होंने बहुत पैशनेटली आई एक्सप्लेन कि बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड कैसे चलेगा। He told me, आपने अंग्रेजी में इतना सब बोला तो मैं इन्वेस्ट तो कर देता हूँ, हाँ, पर कस्टमर का पैसा नहीं डालूंगा। तो मैंने बोला क्यों नहीं डालोगे, ये बहुत अच्छा स्ट्रेटेजी है। बोलता नहीं, वॉलेटिलिटी वर्ड बहुत खराब है, राइट, वॉलेटिलिटी अच्छा नहीं है। मैं बोला डाग अच्छे है, हमारा आशीष सोमैया था अभी तभी हमारा सेल्स हेड, वो बोलता था डाग अच्छे है, ऐसा कुछ कैंपेन ला रहे थे कि सर्फ का था ना, डाग अच्छे है, वॉलेटिलिटी अच्छी है। I know that volatility makes money. I get excited with volatility. Volatility is good in my mind. But most of India didn't believe. मैंने उधर से रांची से फोन करके बोला था बॉस नाम चेंज कर ले, राइट, ये volatility अच्छा नहीं है, we'll change it to balance advantage fund. हाँ, वो 300 करोड़ से 40,000 करोड़ हो गया। But I'm quite confused whether BAF is a success of ICICI Prudential or a complete failure of ICICI Prudential. I don't know. What do you think? Is it a success or a failure? I feel it's a failure, right? क्योंकि BAF हमारा और एक म्यूचुअल फंड है हमारा, one of the most respected, the biggest mutual fund, SBI म्यूचुअल फंड, वो अभी लेके आया BAF, राइट? पहले साल में सरदार जी ने 25,000 करोड़ कर दिया, राइट? हम लोग 10 साल से मैं बोल रहा हूं BAF, मैं पहुंचा मर के 40,000 करोड़ पहुंचा, और सर बीपी सिंह ने एक साल में 25,000 करोड़ मार दिया। What does that indicate? What does that indicate? That the customer, what does he want? Right? We are not that. BAF is the biggest failure of ICICI Prudential. We always had the idea, right? But we were never able to take it the way DP Singh has done, right? He has brought scale, right? एक साल में 25,000 कर दिया, right? So that is what I always say, and I tell DP also always that you have done a fantastic. And when he comes into the market, I am super happy because आप लोग तो नया कस्टमर लाते नहीं है, right? हाँ, मैं डेटा देख के आया हूं, नया कस्टमर कौन लाता है? डीपी सिंह लाता है, राइट? ही हैज गॉट पीपल हु हैड नेवर इन्वेस्टेड इन म्यूचुअल फंड्स इनटू म्यूचुअल फंड्स। वो लोग आईसीआईसीआई प्रूडेंशियल नहीं खरीदते, वो लोग एसबीआई म्यूचुअल फंड ही खरीदते, पर आज एसबीआई लिया है, कल आईसीआईसीआई भी लेगा, राइट? सो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी विद द वर्क बिकॉज यू गाइस डोंट गेट अस न्यू कस्टमर्स। हु गेट्स अस न्यू कस्टमर्स? मेरा कस्टमर बहुत बढ़ गया। देखो क्या कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन है, राइट? यू हैव गॉट न्यू, यू डोंट वांट न्यू कस्टमर्स, but my customers went from, it took me 23 years to reach 5.5 million customers. On 31st March 2021, I had 5.5 million customers. On 31st March 2022, I had 7.7 million customers. मेरे को 23 साल हो गए, राइट, 55 लाख कस्टमर लाने को, और एक साल में 22 लाख कस्टमर आ गया, और आप लोग तो लाया नहीं है, तो कौन लाया? हाँ, एसबीआई लाया, और कौन लाया? फिनटेक्स लेके आया, राइट? ग्रो लेके आया, जीरोधा लेके आया, राइट? दिस आर द पीपल हु हैव गॉट इन मनी, राइट? हु हैव गॉट इन न्यू कस्टमर्स. But that is the biggest opportunity for us. The way I am excited that SBI has got customers now, good, right? Good for SBI, but good for us also in future. Similarly, if ये digital channel से customer आए, आप भी सोच लो आपके लिए क्या opportunity है. If you decide to scale up, I think my topic was scale up. Right, but there is a huge number of customers who want to get into mutual fund, but people are not interested. People don't want to use technology enough to get everybody. क्योंकि हम लोग grow नहीं, opportunity बहुत बड़ा है, right? जो हमने 25 साल लगे, उसने एक साल में कर दिया, right? Next 5 साल में अभी तक हुआ है, उसका 2 गुना होएगा, right? Compounding का effect है ये, right? So what is going to happen in the next 7 years is more than double of what has happened in the last 25 years. But are you prepared to take up that scale? There are so many people in Pune who want to get into mutual funds. Are you prepared to get them in? Do you have the physical? What is required? So I have to focus on scale, on my business. When I need to manage 2,50,000 crores of mutual funds, I have already capacitized myself to manage 5 lakh crores of equity mutual funds. राइट? क्योंकि ज्यादा अगर संजय भाई ने जो समझाया है वो समझ लिया अगर, और अगर अमर शाह ने 1% ऑफ एयूएम कर दिया, उसने बोला है जून तक कर देगा, राइट? 2,60,000 करोड़ है, वो 2,600 करोड़ का एसआईपी कर लेगा, अभी 2,000 करोड़ पे महीने का 100 करोड़ बढ़ा देगा, राइट? ऐसा उसने प्रॉमिस किया है, राइट? फ्रीडम सिप लेके आया है, और वो 2,600 करोड़ कर देगा। अगर वो कर दिया तो 12% एसआईपी से ग्रो होंगे, और 12% शायद मार्केट दे देगा, मालूम नहीं मार्केट देगा कि नहीं, पर इतना अच्छा बिजनेस, इससे बेटर बिजनेस हो नहीं सकता है, right? And I am very happy the margins are reducing, right? I have got no fear that margins are going down. Margins में मेरा margin हर साल कम होता है और मैं बहुत खुश हूं कि मेरा margin हर साल कम होता है, right? क्योंकि margin हर साल कम होता है. मेरा एक थियरी है, कस्टमर का चार्ज जितना कम होगा ना उतना ये बिजनेस और बढ़ेगा, right? We are so efficient, right? Banks work at a NII of 4%. What is the NII? The banks also do intermediation. They are the intermediate between the depositor and the borrower. We are the intermediate between the investor and the investee company. काम तो exactly same है, credit risk fund वही काम करता है, right? पर हम कितने पे काम करते हैं? हाँ, डेट फंड पे तो बहुत कम है, पर क्रेडिट रिस्क फंड भी लो तो हम कितना 150 160 चार्ज करते हैं और वो भी कम होगा, 100% कम होगा. ही इज राइट डायरेक्शनली वेयर दिस इज वेयर वी आर गोइंग. बट this is the beauty of this industry. Why this industry will grow? Because we are very good for the customer. The more the product becomes purer to the customer, I have got a theory, volume into margin is equal to revenue. India is not a country to maximize margin. India is a country to maximize volume. Right? बीच का top of the pyramid नहीं, middle of the pyramid बहुत बड़ा है और middle of the pyramid लाने का है. जितना तुम कॉस्ट कम करोगे कस्टमर के लिए उतना और कस्टमर आएगा. कस्टमर विल हैव दिस प्रोडक्ट इज डूइंग वेरी वेल, राइट? बिकॉज कस्टमर इज हैविंग गुड एक्सपीरियंसेस, राइट? वी हैव नॉट डन अ ट्रेमेंडस मार्केटिंग जॉब. इफ यू वुड हैव डन अ ट्रेमेंडस मार्केटिंग जॉब यू वुड हैव बीन मच बेटर. इनफैक्ट आई टेल माय बैंक कलीग्स दैट दे आर डूइंग अ मच बेटर जॉब. मेरा क्रेडिट रिस्क फंड ने लास्ट 20 साल में हमेशा बैंक डिपॉजिट से ज्यादा ही दिया है. फिर भी वो लोग एफडी कितना ज्यादा बेच सकते हैं, हम लोग नहीं बेच सकते क्रेडिट रिस्क फंड, राइट? वो लोग तो बेचते हैं. हमारा लिक्विड फंड इज गिविंग मोर देन सेविंग्स अकाउंट, ऑलवेज करंट अकाउंट ऑलवेज, राइट? स्टिल दे आर एबल टू हैव 170 लाख करोड़ ऑफ डिपॉजिट. 170 लाख करोड़. मेरी कंपनी में कोई बहुत एमबीए बहुत फंडा मारता है ना, मैं इसको बोलता हूँ बॉस मेरे को है ना 2,70,000 करोड़ लिख के दिखा. हाँ, कितना जीरो आता है गिन उसमें. हाँ, 10 में से 9 एमबीए नहीं लिख पाते मैडम. So coming back to scale, I think our business is all about scale. The world is waiting to give you scale. It is up to you whether you want to take scale or not. मैंने अभी बहुत सारे IFS को तो बोल दिया नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को ही लेके आओ यार मेरे पास, राइट? बिकॉज ये जनरेशन तो बहुत खुश है MTM में. नेक्स्ट जनरेशन पे मेरे को कुछ होप है that they will digitize the whole thing and make it a huge scale business, right? A lot of times it is happening where the next generation is coming in and then saying that my father has been doing business in this way, I will completely digitize it and I will get the mass market in. All are good models, there is nothing wrong with any model, but I always like to work on the PE ratio and not only on the EPS, right? I don't like the term IFAs at all, right? IFA क्या होता है? CEO होता है, right? I am in a room full of CEOs who are making people work, right? After so many years of experience, you can get 10, 20, 50 people work for you. The easiest thing is to work yourself. The more difficult thing is to get others to work the way you want to work. And the most difficult thing is to get others to think the way you want to think and then work accordingly. I believe that the Grow and SBI and Zerodha, all these digital guys have shown what is the capability of the market and how many people want to go in. Right? We are going to spend on 40 lakh crores, 1 basis point will be mutual fund सही है. तो 400 करोड़ का advertising होएगा mutual fund का सही है. Right? From the interiors, forget Pune, from the interiors you are going to get a lot of inquiries. Every day my business from the smaller towns is increasing. Right? So the market is spreading. Right? धारावी भी untapped है. यहाँ से ना 3 किलोमीटर बड़ा बात करते हैं ना हम लोग रूरल इंटीग्रेशन ये वो सब. इधर से धारावी है ना 1.5-2 किलोमीटर है. 2 किलोमीटर as the crow flies. और धारावी में भी चिट फंड चलते हैं. राइट? सो और धारावी में मेरा एक बंदी है जो धारावी में जाके रोड शोज करती है. वो इडली वाला ऑफ धारावी हैज गिवन हर 70,000 रुपीज. ही हैज गॉट अ इडली शॉप इन चंडी रोड, राइट? 70,000 रुपीज का SIP है. So that is the potential of Dharavi. So the common man, there is no suburb. मैं ICICI बैंक को भी बोलता हूँ तू क्या बोलता है वार्डन रोड, मेरे को नाला सोपारा से भी लेके देना. मेरे को तो सब जगह इंपॉर्टेंट है, right? So our product is there in Nala Sopara and our product has to be there in Warden Road both. So the market is infinite. It is up to you. How I am managing scale, I am diversifying, right? And as I said, and you have to take, our business is similar. So what I am doing, I have diversified. I have divided my AUM amongst various fund managers. All have got a different style of managing money. मेरा stated policy है that 1/3 of my funds will underperform. I have told my board also at any point. Right now, I am very worried because most of my funds are performing well. Right, I am actually very worried because this company is designed that 1/3. All styles cannot work together. Right, all styles cannot work together. Should not work together. My company is designed that 1/3 of the company should underperform. But right now, I am worried that all the. मैं अमित भोसले को बोलता हूँ बस तूने क्या गलत फिटिंग की है? हाँ? ये सब क्यों काम कर रहे हैं? बोला नहीं नहीं वो लोग का स्टॉक पिकिंग अभी चल गया है पर रुको रुको होएगा 1/3 underperform. It is healthy. A good fund manager has to underperform, and this I am saying when my fund manager is doing well. A fund manager is supposed to take a call before anybody else can take a call, right? So he is supposed to. So if he underperformance, if there is underperformance, it is okay because it should take time to perform. A good fund manager will take a call before the market, and after that the market will react. तो अगर 1-2 साल डिस्कवरी में कभी डालने का, if you know Naren style of management, you invest with a Naren kind of fund manager when his fund has underperformed for 1.5 years. उसके बाद डालो बहुत पैसा बनेगा. हम बोल बोल के सर आप इधर यस बोलते हो पर लाते नहीं हो पैसा. See, this is what has happened. Discovery has consistently. I have been in this company for 15 years. You guys have been tracking this fund for longer period, right? You have been associated with this company even before I got associated. But there, you have always seen that this the style of value 2018 to 20 value funds could not have performed. You should have been worried if value performs in between two. जब 10 स्टॉक चल रहे थे मार्केट में, तुम्हारा डाइवर्सिफाइड म्यूचुअल फंड कैसे परफॉर्म करेगा? और उसमें वैल्यू स्टॉक्स तो चल ही नहीं रहे थे. So if a value fund is performing well, then it was not a value fund at all. So if you don't invest when and a proven fund manager, a proven fund house, how many of you invested in Discovery in 2019? Nobody invested. So अभी भी ये बीमारी है. अगर ये बीमारी of tracking past performance and selling only. Past performance is only to say boss मैं ठीक हूँ, right? मेरे को आता है मेरा काम. पर पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस इफ इट बिकम्स द सिलेक्ट हो तो फिर ये डिजिटल चैनल जैसा मैं क्यों बोलता हूं मालूम है? डिजिटल चैनल आपके लिए क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है? क्योंकि वो लोग आपके लिए बिजनेस डेवलपमेंट करते हैं, राइट? मैं हमेशा मेरे ब्रोकरेज हाउसेस सबको बोलता हूं भाई आप बढ़िया काम कर रहे हैं, मेरे लिए आप इतने कस्टमर्स आप ला रहे हो, सब ट्रेडिंग करेगा. आपने देखा है कि 98% बेचारा जीरोदा वाला बोलता भी है कहावत कि 99% ऑफ द कस्टमर्स आर लूजिंग मनी, राइट? सो अल्टीमेटली वो सब म्यूचुअल फंड पे ही आएंगे, राइट? 10 करोड़ डीमैट अकाउंट खुल गए ना ये कंट्री में, बहुत प्राउडली एडवर्टाइज कर रहे हैं. तो वो सब ट्रेडिंग कर करके इवेंचुअली म्यूचुअल फंड पे आएंगे. आई एम वेरी हैप्पी विद व्हाटएवर आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग दैट द होल मार्केट इज वो शाहरुख खान का कुछ डायलॉग है ना, पूरी कायनात बन रही है, हाँ अपने लिए बन रही है, राइट? इतने सब लोग डीमैट में आ रहे हैं, इतने सब लोग ट्रेडिंग कर रहे हैं. ट्रेडिंग में नुकसान करेंगे तो किधर जाएंगे? जो ऑनलाइन खरीदते हैं वो भी क्या खरीदते हैं देखा है आपने? दैट इज द बिगेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर यू. मेरा एक टेक्नोलॉजी फंड था, 2000 करोड़ का टेक्नोलॉजी फंड था. अचानक एक साल में 2000 का 8000 हो गए. पता है आपको टेक्नोलॉजी फंड आपने किसी ने भी बेचा है? हार्डली बेचा है किसी ने ये रूम में. पर 2000 करोड़ से 8000 कैसे हो गया? क्योंकि जो ऑनलाइन जाता था ना वो खुद ही जाके ट्रैक करता था लास्ट 1 ईयर टॉप रिटर्न फंड्स, तो उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी फंड 2021 में आता था, राइट? तो सबने उधर डाल दिया. अभी क्या हुआ सबका, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाई यू आर रिक्वायर्ड, right? That is where the gap is. So there is a customer who is waiting to come in. The customer is selecting the wrong products when he goes online. The online customers are getting money, are getting customers. Now it is up to you to fructify the business. So how I am managing scale? I am reducing risk in my business. According to me, मैं डेटा देख के आया, मेरे को हाँ मत बोला, आप में से बहुत कम लोग डेट करते हैं. The biggest fund house in this country will be the one which manages debt well. Because the India wants 170 lakh crore. मेरा पूरा टेप है ना एक ही फिगर पे अटक गया है. 170 लाख करोड़. 170 लाख करोड़ का इंडिया में डिपॉजिट्स है. इंडियन कस्टमर को तो डिपॉजिट चाहिए. आप 20 लाख करोड़ का इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड देख रहे हो, उसमें भी हमने मंदी देखी है. 96 to 2000 देखा है, हाँ? जब कुछ नहीं हो रहा था, 7-8 साल कुछ नहीं हुआ था. तो दिस इज नॉट 2008 to 14 कुछ नहीं हुआ था. 2014 के बाद अपने अच्छे दिन आ गए, राइट? बट 2008 to 14 किधर हो रहा था? इक्विटी बिक रहा था. सो प्लीज सेल डेट, राइट? यू कांट बी इन म्यूचुअल फंड्स एंड नॉट डू डेट फंड्स. डेट फंड्स विल मेक अस बिग, और डेट फंड से जब अपने को चाहिए विल बी एबल टू मूव पीपल टू इक्विटी ऑल्सो. सो वी वांट डेट फंड्स. प्लीज डू बिजनेस ऑफ व्हाई, एंड देयर ऑल्सो यू आर डिक्रीजिंग रिस्क. at a portfolio level. Customer portfolio will contain a lot of debt. Customer does not want volatility. So customer will have debt. So please ensure that you have. So I am reducing by doing BAF. I am reducing risk by doing this debt, and debt we are making it big. उधर 5 minute आ गया है, तो I have to close. So we are very we are prepared completely. One thing is that we have divided into a lot of people, and we have divided into a lot of products. Right? We have got many products. We have got long and large and mid cap. We have got multi cap. We have got flexi cap. We have got opportunities. We have got discovery. तो अलग product करो, अलग लोगों को दो, divide and rule. Right? तो कभी एक अच्छा करेगा, कभी एक फंड मैनेजर अच्छा करेगा, कभी दूसरा करेगा. 7 साल में एंडेवर है कि सब अच्छा ही करेंगे. Right? The whole thing I can tell you, see, a fund manager can perform over a business cycle. Right? Give me a complete cycle, he'll perform. So over a 7 to 9 years, all funds of ICICI, मेरे को ना हर इवेंट के बाद लोग बाहर लेके जाते हैं. सर कौन सा फंड में डालूं? अरे मुझे नहीं पता है. As if I know 2023 में कौन सा चलेगा. Right? हमने क्या किया? हमने बहुत सारे फंड्स लगाए, बहुत अलग-अलग लोगों को दिया है, और फिर अलग-अलग लोगों को दिया है कि बॉस परफॉर्म करो. 2023 में कोई करेगा, 2024 में कोई करेगा, 2025 में करेगा. So कोई भी करेगा, ICICI से हमेशा अच्छा परफॉर्म करेगा. Right? That is the whole idea. Right? That is the whole idea of doing this divide. That whichever style works in 2023, whichever works in 2024, at any point of time you should have something to go and talk to the customers, because the customer will see past track record. But you as advisors, you as distributors should have the wisdom that nothing is consistent. A fund which is doing very well today can have a bout of underperformance, and that is very common when you are doing business at a scale. It is bound to happen. Right? But we have shown one thing, we are very happy that we have managed scale, and we have managed scale efficiently. Right? It has gone in the interest of the customer. We have shown that elephants can dance. Right? So I am very happy. We came with a lot of NFOs also. Right? This is not the NFO. This is the long term. But एक सेकंड वो बैफ वाला रख. ये बैफ वाला स्लाइड में हमने वो वर्ड, आजकल सब लोग बैफ बोल रहे हैं. राइट? हमारे ही बहुत सारे आईसीआईसीआई के कलीग थे, वो अलग अलग एएमसी में बोलते हैं आईसीआईसीआई में बैफ किसने चालू किया था? मैंने चालू किया. राइट? ऐसे 3-4 जने मार्केट में, तो सब लोग बैफ बोल रहे हैं. तो आजकल हमने वो ओरिजिनल का छापा, वो मगनलाल चिक्की वाला है ना अपना, उसके पास से सीखा, वो ओरिजिनल वाला अभी छापा मार दिया. हाँ, क्या हमने चालू किया. राइट? सो दिस इज द वे वी हैव मैनेज स्केल, and I think you guys have done a brilliant job. Because of you, markets are there where they are, because in 2021-22 you gave us a lot of money when the FIIs were selling. June 21 to March 22 you kept on giving us money. Right? Otherwise the market, if somebody would have told me that FIIs will sell 40,000 crores for 9 months and they will sell 5 lakh crores in 9 months, where will the market go? Both I and Vijay have seen that times when the market in 2008, as a fraction of that sales, market went down by more than 50%. Right? If you would have asked me 60,000 पे कि बॉस नेक्स्ट 9 महीने में 5 लाख करोड़ बिचने वाला है, मार्केट क्या होएगा? तो मार्केट 30,000 और 40,000 का, मैं ऐसा बोलता था आपको. पर मार्केट केवल 16% गिरा, डिस्पाइट FIIs selling 5 lakh crores. It is only because of you guys, because every month you gave us. So we are doing a very brilliant job. Right? What mutual fund distributors and what we have done, I am very happy with the Naukri that I am doing. Right? I am doing 2 things, and we both should be very proud of what we are doing. We are helping the common man to beat inflation, and we are helping capital formation in the country. Right? So I genuinely believe that I am very satisfied with my career, that I am helping both these things to happen. So this is where I'll have to stop, because there are other players coming in. Once I'm in Pune, we can have a very long discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sir deserves a big round of applause. Can we give it up for him? I would request Nimesh sir to please come on the stage, because Alpa ji and Sandeep ji want to felicitate you. So please remain on the stage before anybody else catches hold of you to ask कि अभी कौन से fund में invest करना है.
बीपी सिंह सर को और संजय भाई को बहुत हिचकियाँ आई होगी. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
He knows I'm talking. I always talk about it.
बहुत मजा आया निमेश भाई. थैंक यू सो मच. वैसे एक शाह दूसरे शाह की तारीफ करते हुए बहुत अच्छी लगेगी, तो जब भी मुझे कोई पूछता है कि आपको पैसों के बारे में क्या मालूम है भाई, क्या क्वालिफिकेशन है आपकी, तो मैं एक ही चीज बोलती हूँ, मैं गुजराती हूँ, વાણિયણ છું અને પૈસાની માટે વાત કરું છું, એટલે નિમેશભાઈથી બેટર કોઈ હોઈ જ ન શકે.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, yes. Thank you so much, sir, once again for your insightful discussion, and we would now like to move on. Yes, yes.
सो निमेश भाई ने डेट के बारे में बहुत बोला और मैं इतनी खुश हूँ कि आज हमारे साथ विजय मंत्री जी है जो डेट के बारे में बोलने वाले हैं. वाओ.
And yes, Alpaji is right. Our next session is all about how to use debt mutual funds to grow your business. And before I invite sir on the stage, I would like to speak a few lines about him. And now I would take this opportunity to introduce our speaker, Mr. Vijay Mantri, who is the co-founder and chief investment strategist and the mentor for JRL Money, a very well integrated fintech robo-advisory online B2B business platform and one of its kind in India. He appears regularly on various business channels, giving his views on the economy and the stock markets. He has an insightful and unconventional way of looking at the markets and the economy. So ladies and gentlemen, I would request all of you to give a big round of applause as we invite Mr. Vijay Mantri to come on the stage and talk about how to use debt mutual funds to grow your business.
Good afternoon, friends. I think, thank you very much for such a lovely introduction. I wish my wife was here to listen to this introduction. So, आज कुछ बात, how do I forward the slides from here? Forward कहाँ से करें? Forward कहाँ से करें? Okay. तो पहले मैं actually I will do other way around. मैं अपनी लास्ट स्लाइड पहले दिखाऊंगा आप लोगों को कि बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग इंसाइटफुल लर्निंग उससे आपको लोगों को मिलने वाली है. ये क्या हो गया? लेकिन उसके पहले काफी लोग बोलते हैं कि एमएफडी कौन है, एमएफडी का अस्तित्व क्या है, एमएफडी खाली ब्रोकर है, अपने कमीशन में इंटरेस्टेड है, दिस चैनल इज बेटर, दैट चैनल इज बेटर. मेरा खुद का अपना 30 साल का तजुर्बा है, उससे बोल सकता हूं कि द चीपेस्ट वे to get to client and client to get to the market is MFD. The expensive way is RIA and the most expensive way is direct. Yes, most expensive way going direct in the market. And I tell you why. जैसे निमेश भाई ने बोला था अभी कि ICICI टेक्नोलॉजी फंड में लोगों ने पैसे डाले 2022 के बिगनिंग में. And why I tell you RIA is expensive because even they charge money on fixed deposit. They charge money on NCD, they charge money on liquid fund as well. Mutual fund distributor, it is such a dirty word people are using, but effectively it is the most cost effective way to reach out to the client. And that is what the industry and MFD has done. और निमेश भाई ने बोला है कि ICICI टेक्नोलॉजी फंड में लोगों ने पैसा डाला, लोगों का पैसों का नुकसान हो गया. एक्चुअली फिनटेक प्लेटफॉर्म बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग वे है नए क्लाइंट मिलने का, और मेरे पास काफी नए क्लाइंट आते हैं और मेरे बहुत ज्यादा क्लाइंट फिनटेक प्लेटफॉर्म से आते हैं. तो एक सज्जन ने मेरे को फोन करके बोला कि मंत्री जी आप तो हमेशा म्यूचुअल फंड के बारे में बात करते रहते हैं और हमने तो म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसा डाला लेकिन म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसे का नुकसान हो गया. तो हमने बोला कैसे पॉसिबल है, म्यूचुअल फंड में तो नुकसान हो नहीं सकता. तो उन्होंने मुझे पोर्टफोलियो भेजा, तो मैंने पोर्टफोलियो देखा, उनका बहुत डिवर्सिफाइड पोर्टफोलियो था. 5 फंड थे, सारे के सारे IT फंड थे, वेल डिवर्सिफाइड. ICICI का IT फंड था, टाटा का IT फंड था, अलग अलग कंपनी का IT फंड था. तो 2022 में उन्होंने फास्ट बेस्ट फंड लास्ट 1 ईयर के देखे और 5 फंड में पैसा डाल दिया. अब वो मेरे पास आए, बोले, मैंने बोला आपने तो टेक फंड में पैसा डाला. बोला लेकिन मंत्री जी म्यूचुअल फंड तो है ना. तो मैंने उनको बोला बैठिए थोड़ी देर, मैं उनको समझाया. मैं बोला आपने राम सेतु की कहानी सुनी है क्या? तो बोला राम सेतु की कहानी म्यूचुअल फंड से क्या कनेक्शन है? तो मेरा भगवान राम जब ब्रिज बांध रहे थे लंका पे चढ़ाई करने के लिए, तो ब्रिज बांधने के लिए उनको पत्थर डाल रहे थे. भगवान राम अपने हाथ से पत्थर डाल रहे थे, पत्थर डूब रहा था. तो किसी ने उनको एडवाइस किया कि नल और नील 2 भाई उनके हाथ में पत्थर दो, वो पत्थर पानी में रखेंगे तो पत्थर डूबेगा नहीं.
तो भगवान राम ने नल और नील को पत्थर दिया, उन्होंने पत्थर पर राम का नाम लिखा, पानी में गिराया, पत्थर डूबा नहीं, पत्थर तैरता रहा। राम जी खुद अपने हाथ से पत्थर डाल रहे, पत्थर डूब रहा है। तो मैं बोला उस टाइम राम का नाम था, अभी ARN है। उस टाइम नल और नील थे, इस टाइम MFD है। जिस भी पोर्टफोलियो पे ARN नहीं है ना, वो पोर्टफोलियो, चाहे वो म्यूचुअल फंड का पोर्टफोलियो, डूबने वाला है। तो ये पावर है MFD का। और अभी मैं आपको पहले, ये क्या हो रहा है भाई वापस? आई नीड टू शो सम, कैन यू जस्ट हेल्प मी प्लीज? Or I think I'm moving too fast. It is being programmed to move at certain speed. मैं आपको बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग और डिफरेंट तरह की कस्टमर इंसाइट आप लोगों को देके जाऊंगा, एंड दैट वुड हेल्प यू गाइज। ये मेरी लास्ट स्लाइड आपको पहले दिखाता हूं, वो बहुत जरूरी है आप लोगों को जानना। इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग, ओके, ये इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग। अभी आप देखिए इसके अंदर क्या लिखा हुआ है, और ये बहुत ध्यान से आप देखिए, आपको मालूम पड़ेगा। रियल एस्टेट पीक्ड इन 2012, बट उसके बाद भी कंटिन्यूअस बेसिस के ऊपर रियल एस्टेट में क्लाइंट पैसे डालता रहा। Demonetization gave big fish to financial assets, और इक्विटी became a TINA, मतलब there is no alternate to equity asset। वो एक प्रोसेस चला जो अभी तक चल रहा है, और equity become TINA for risk asset. Now what will happen when the risk asset do not perform? Suppose there is a period where risk asset will not perform. There could be a period, we have seen 2022 and perhaps 2023 के अंदर भी risk asset perform नहीं करेगा, तो क्या होगा? देखिए कस्टमर का परसेप्शन, different reaction to equity, different reaction to real estate. When it comes to real estate, even if the asset is not performing, client still would like to hold the asset. Even within equity, the client reaction could be different to direct stock and could be different to equity mutual fund. Direct stock के अंदर performance नहीं आया तो भी client उसको hold करके रख सकता है, लेकिन अगर इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड में परफॉर्मेंस नहीं आया तो हो सकता है क्लाइंट इसको होल्ड करके नहीं रखे। और मैंने काफी क्लाइंट के पोर्टफोलियो पे देखा है, अगर गोल्ड ETF ले रखा है और गोल्ड ETF के अंदर रिटर्न नहीं आता है तो बेचने जा सकता है, लेकिन ज्वेलरी नहीं बिकती है। सेम असेट कैटेगरी, द क्लाइंट रिएक्शन कुड बी डिफरेंट। सो माय पॉइंट इज, नो पॉइंट एक्चुअली, देयर इज सम प्रॉब्लम। Okay, so now look at fixed asset and fixed debt instrument. It is very important to look at the numbers. हम बोल रहे हैं कि इंडस्ट्री इतनी बड़ी हो गई है, म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री में इतने बड़े नंबर आए हैं, लेकिन क्या आपको मालूम है पिछले 5 सालों में क्या हुआ? पिछले 5 सालों में जब इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड ने 12% के ऊपर रिटर्न दिया है, बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड ने 12-13% रिटर्न दिया है, बैंक FD रिमेन 5.5 to 6%. What has happened in last 5 years? Total amount collected by mutual fund industry was 4,30,000 crore. The banking sector collected 9 times more than this. कितना? When the deposit rate was perhaps historical low we have seen. Now second point to consider, Canara Bank ने 3 वीक में 1 लाख करोड़ इकट्ठा किया है। HDFC बैंक के CEO का 3 दिन पहले इंटरव्यू था, they target to collect 1 lakh crore of deposit every quarter. Just one bank. That is the size of the opportunity. Now we look at mutual fund distributor. I have some very interesting insight. Whenever I travel to any city, Pune, Mumbai, Anand, Ranchi, Vizag, I'm traveling to close to 100 location addressing MFDs. And what I found is very interesting. कोई भी city में चले जाइए, mutual fund distribution is typically 1/3 MFDs, 1/3 broker dealer and 1/3 wealth counter. This is the way I am seeing for last 25 years, exactly remain the same. 1/3 MFD का धंधा आता है, कोई भी AUM 1/3 MFD होता है, 1/3 बाकी लोग होते हैं, 1/3 direct plus fintech platform सब होता है. Now, but what you find very interesting is within MFD, you take any town. I went to 5-6 towns outside Mumbai, and what you find is very fascinating. The top guy 20 years back was say 50 crore AUM. 15 years back 100 crore AUM, 10 years back 200 crore AUM, 5 years back 300 crore AUM, and today it's a 500 crore guy, the biggest guy in the particular town. Now what you find very interesting is every 3 year and only one new guy enter in the club. कोई भी सिटी में हर 3 साल में खाली एक आदमी उस क्लब में ब्रेक कर पाता है. आप समझ रहे हैं क्या बोल रहा हूं मैं? कोई भी शहर के अंदर म्यूचुअल फंड के चौधरी होते हैं, उस चौधरात में खाली 3 साल में एक आदमी घुस पाता है. वो चौधरात का हम लिमिट चालू करते हैं, सपोज बॉम्बे में 500 करोड़ हमने चालू किया, तो हर 3 साल में खाली एक आदमी उसमें ब्रेक कर पाता है. इट इज अक्रॉस द सिटी सेम ट्रेंड. नो व्हाट यू फाइंड वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग अगेन, आप टोटल एमएफडी की एयूएम देखो, टोटल उस पर्टिकुलर सिटी के एयूएम देखो, 2/3 AUM is controlled by top guys, 5-6 guys. 2/3 AUM is controlled by only the Chaudharys. Now what you find more interesting there, in gross sales, their number come down to 50%. And in SIP, their number come down to 25%. So there is a huge opportunity for new and budding MFDs to look at growing their business. Now just look at, I share this number with you, top 3 guys, every 3 year only one guy get added. And if you look at 2/3 of AUM is controlled by top guys, they have 50% share in the sales and they have only 25% shares in SIP. अभी जैसे आपको मालूम है कि एनजे, प्रूडेंट, ICICI बैंक, HDFC बैंक, इनकी टोटल आउटस्टैंडिंग SIP आज की तारीख में 4.5 से 5 लाख के आसपास है. The number one SIP given to the mutual fund industry right now grow. उसकी SIP की नंबर कितने हैं? कोई बोलता है 30 लाख, कोई बोलता है 40 लाख, कोई बोलता है 50 लाख. नंबर 2 पे कौन है? अप स्टॉक, 20 लाख, 17 लाख, 15 लाख. नंबर 3 पे जीरोता, 15 लाख, 17 लाख के नंबर है. ओके, ये सब आए किस पे हैं? है जी? नहीं सर, विराट कोहली इज अ ग्रेट बैट्समैन because Sachin was a great batsman. Sachin was a great batsman because Sunil Gavaskar was a great batsman. Every new generation rise on the shoulder of old generation. 25 साल आपने काम किया है. SIP कॉन्सेप्ट कौन एक्सप्लेन किया जाके? आम इन्वेस्टर को बताइए ना, बताइए ना. अगर कोई भी बोले कि एक्टिव पैसिव में बहुत, मेरा तो फेवरेट टॉपिक है, कोई बात करे तो मैं आप कोई भी पैसिव वाले को बोलता हूं, एक फिनटेक वाले को बोलता हूं, आप एफडी कस्टमर को कन्वर्ट करके बताइए ना मुझे. है हिम्मत तो करके बताइए ना. वहां बिगेस्ट एल्फा आप क्रिएट कर सकते हो ना क्लाइंट के लिए. एंड आई हैव नंबर, आई विल शो टू यू गाइस. नाउ व्हाट इज इंटरेस्टिंग टू सी हियर, no, I think market is going through correction phase, so we now look at this insight about the market, about Indian psychology. India is a low trust country. India is a low trust country. आप उसको ढंग से सुनिए, मैं जो बोल रहा हूं आप लोगों को. And trust is hyper local and hyper national. उसका मतलब क्या? हाइपर लोकल एंड हाइपर नेशनल. हाइपर लोकल का मतलब है कि हम अपना जो क्लोज सर्कल है उस पर ज्यादा भरोसा करते हैं. चाहे हमारा भाई हो गया, रिश्तेदार हो गया, मॉर्निंग वाला वॉक वाला फ्रेंड, चाहे उसको ज्ञान कुछ नहीं रहेगा, लेकिन हमारा भरोसा उस पर ज्यादा. और इंडिया ऐसा देश है कि जहां हर आदमी अपने काम के अलावा बाकी काम पे बहुत अच्छी एडवाइस देने की ताकत रखता है. हर आदमी. और हाइपर नेशनल, इसका मतलब क्या है? इधर वी ट्रस्ट द बिग ब्रांड और वी ट्रस्ट अवर क्लोज सर्कल ऑफ फ्रेंड्स. ओके, इसमें मैं आपको बताऊंगा इसका इंप्लीकेशन आपके बिजनेस के लिए क्या है. और इंडिया में जो एक्स डज नॉट लीड टू वाई, कि ये है इसलिए ये हो जाएगा, इंडिया में काम नहीं करता. देयर आर मेनी कंपनीज whom I have worked with where they look at 140 crore population, 30% saving rate, our product penetration is very low. This top line optics has burned billions of dollar capital. लेकिन इतना आसान इंडियन कस्टमर को कन्वर्ट करना इतना आसान नहीं है. और आपको बहुत छोटा इलस्ट्रेशन देता हूं मैं, आप समझ जाएंगे तो समझ जाएंगे. आप ट्रेन रिजर्वेशन करने जाते हैं, हमेशा ट्रेन फुली मिलता है ना. आप एयरपोर्ट पे कितना ट्रैफिक दिखता है आपको? इफ somebody take that number and figure out कि कितने सूटकेस बिकेंगे इंडिया में, तो आपको जानकर आश्चर्य होगा कि हिंदुस्तान में 80% सूटकेस किस लिए खरीदे जाते हैं? Pardon? Traveling. This is a normal thought process. Actual empirical study tells you 80% suitcase in India is brought गिफ्टिंग नहीं, बच्ची की शादी में उसका सामान ले जाने के लिए, ट्रांसपोर्ट लेने के लिए. Now what do you learn out of it? Again, remote. I press it. When I press it, it's too keen to say thanks. So I'm so sorry about this. So, as I told you, the role of MFD is just not to look at growing your own business. वो तो आप बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो, बट अगर आप एक established MFD हो, तो आपकी जिम्मेदारी बनती है, मेरी जिम्मेदारी बनती है, अल्पा जी जैसे लोगों की जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि हम नेक्स्ट लेवल के डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर तैयार करें. ये प्रोडक्ट मार्केट लिंक प्रोडक्ट है, ये कोई शॉर्ट लिंक प्रोडक्ट नहीं है. अगर आप इंडिया में फाइनेंशियल सेविंग्स का हिस्ट्री देखो, सबसे पहले LIC आया था, UTI आया. UTI का हिस्ट्री देखो तो आपको बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग इंसाइट मिलेगी. UTI क्यों सेटअप हुआ? जब 1962 में इंडिया चाइना वार हुआ, नेहरू जी ने अपील की लोगों को पैसा देने के लिए, अपना गोल्ड देने के लिए, किसी ने पैसा गोल्ड दिया नहीं. तब गवर्नमेंट ने 1964 में यूनिट 64 चालू किया. द होल पर्पज ऑफ यूनिट 64 एंड PPF is to collect money from the public and use that money for financial assets and capital formation. That was the genesis. लेकिन आम हिंदुस्तानी ट्रस्ट नहीं करता है किसी को, क्योंकि अपने ट्रस्ट डिफिसिट, लो ट्रस्ट कंट्री है. तो सरकार ने LIC के अंदर गारंटी देना चालू किया, PPF के अंदर गारंटी देना चालू किया. नॉन गारंटी प्रोडक्ट का हिस्ट्री खाली 20-25 साल का इंडिया के अंदर. जब मैंने म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री चालू किया, हमको बहुत क्लियरिटी थी कि मेरी लाइफ टाइम में ये प्रोडक्ट घर घर नहीं पहुंचेगा. बट दैट डजंट मीन आई स्टॉप वर्किंग टुवर्ड इट, बिकॉज वी कैन क्रिएट नेक्स्ट जनरेशन ऑफ MFDs where the trust become much and much bigger. ट्रस्ट एक जनरेशन में आप हासिल नहीं कर पाओगे क्लाइंट का. तो अगर आप MFD हो, अगर आप MFD के एसोसिएशन हो, तो आप यहाँ पे सुनील गावस्कर हो. सुनील गावस्कर क्या क्रिएट करेगा? नेक्स्ट सचिन. और नेक्स्ट सचिन क्या क्रिएट करेगा? बिकॉज कलेक्टिव लर्निंग आप एक जनरेशन से दूसरी जनरेशन के ऊपर ट्रांसफर करने वाले हो. और नाउ आई गो टू no, I'll have some slides. I'll run through the slides. तो ये देखिए सर, ये है अपनी म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री या अपॉर्चुनिटी की साइज. बैंक डिपॉजिट 50 लाख करोड़ है, इंश्योरेंस 37-38 लाख करोड़ है, सेविंग अकाउंट में इतना पैसा पड़ा है. डायरेक्ट स्टॉक्स में, एक्चुअली डायरेक्ट स्टॉक्स ओनरशिप इज एक्चुअली मच बिगर देन ओनरशिप इन इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड. कैश में 23 लाख पड़ा है. टोटल रिटेल इन्वेस्टर का जो पैसा पड़ा है उससे 20 गुना ज्यादा असेट एक्चुअली बाहर पड़ी है. और ये 12 लाख करोड़ एक्चुअली वैल्यूएशन गेन के बाद है. अगर आप वैल्यूएशन गेन रिमूव कर दोगे ना, तो हमने इफेक्टिवली कुछ ग्रोथ एक्चुअली की नहीं है. आप देखो टोटल SIP, 5 साल की पुरानी SIP म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री में कितनी है, AUM उसकी 40 लाख करोड़ की एसेट मैनेजमेंट कंपनी है. 5 साल के ऊपर की SIP 1,25,000 करोड़ भी नहीं है. तो नंबर ऑफ डीमैट अकाउंट इज नो प्रूफ ऑफ डीपनिंग ऑफ इक्विटी कल्चर. नंबर ऑफ ट्रेन्स ट्रेवलिंग, नंबर ऑफ एयरक्राफ्ट फ्लाइंग इज नो क्लू that number of suitcases are bought for travel purposes. Similarly, when you see in these data, you will get to know. Now, if you see, करीब 60 लाख करोड़ रुपया के आसपास एनुअल हाउस होल्ड सेविंग होता है. उसका 50% रियल एस्टेट में जाता है, 50% बैंक FD में जाता है, 50% गोल्ड में जाता है. एंड इफ यू लुक एट वेयर द मैक्सिमम वेल्थ हैज बीन क्रिएटेड इज इक्विटीज, वहां ओनली 4.8% एलोकेशन जाता है. If you look at debt as a category, as I told you, risk asset, equity was a TINA for risk asset. अभी इक्विटी अगर परफॉर्मेंस करना बंद हो जावे, डेट के अंदर, रियल एस्टेट के अंदर परफॉर्मेंस आना चालू हो जाए, तो हो सकता है 2008 से 2013 वाला दौर हमको देखने को मिले जहां हर दिन हमको रिडेम्पशन फेस करना पड़ा था, बिकॉज डेट म्यूचुअल फंड हम लोगों ने अभी तक ढंग से बात भी नहीं की है, बिकॉज इट इज नॉट अ वेरी एक्साइटिंग प्रोडक्ट टू टॉक, बट देयर इज अ गारंटी ऑफ डिलीवरिंग फार बेटर कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस in debt mutual fund than ever in equity mutual fund. Equity में आपके पास ऑप्शन है डायरेक्ट स्टॉक्स का, पीएमएस का, एएफ का, वीसी का, पी का, स्टॉक एडवाइजरी का, पैसिव का. डेट में अनफॉर्चुनेटली आपके पास कोई भी चॉइस नहीं है. एंड इफ यू सी डेटा इट कम्स आउट वेरी क्लियरली. डेट में आपका रिटर्न छूटता है इन्फ्लेशन के आसपास, लेकिन इन्फ्लेशन कंपाउंड होता है, एफडी इनवेरिएबली कंपाउंड नहीं होती. डेट के अंदर एक ही इंस्ट्रूमेंट है जो ऑटोमेटिकली कंपाउंड होता है, वो है क्या? डेट म्यूचुअल फंड. ऑटोमेटिकली आपको दिखाऊंगा सर मैं, और एक्चुअली मेरी स्टडी की हुई है. लिक्विड फंड, मनी मार्केट, शॉर्ट टर्म बॉन्ड फंड, ऑल सीजन बॉन्ड फंड, और आपको डेटा दिखाता हूं मैं. What I have done here is very, very interesting. First of every month, I have taken 7 days, 14 days and 30 days bank deposits. And then from that day, I looked at the number or performance of liquid funds. I have looked at 6 month, 9 month, 12 month FD rate and compared the return of money market fund. I looked at 12 month, 18 month and 36 month FD rate and compared the return of short term bond fund. I looked at 3 years, 4 year, 5 year, 7 year return of debt all season bond fund and looked at FD rate at the beginning of every month. And what you see, excess return delivered by debt mutual fund is anything between 1% to 2.5% for the same period. Now what is more interesting, if you see outperformance, 96% of the time liquid fund outperform 7 days, 14 days, 30 days FD. Money market funds 75% of the time they actual outperform 6 month, 9 month, 12 month FD. If you look at short term bond fund, 12 month, 24 month and 36 month, 80% of the time they outperform the bank deposit of the similar maturity. And what you see something very interesting, there's only one fund I've taken, all season bond fund. 90% of the time this fund has actually outperformed bank FD over a 3 year, 5 year, 7 year period. And in bank FD, I assume compounding of return, which invariably don't happen. And what is most interesting, you will see next slide. आपको दिखाया गया है कि YTM minus expenses is actually net fund return. Is that right ना? Wrong. See the number. Again, I have done a 20 years data analysis of various fund. Liquid fund में on an average 30 basis point expenses आता है, but actual expenses आता है 15 basis point. इसका मतलब क्या है कि जो YTM दिखाया जाता है और expenses दिखाया जाता है, expenses return आता है, actually वो YTM minus expenses से ज्यादा आता है. If you see liquid fund, 80% of the time जो YTM दिखाया गया है उससे 7, 14 और 30 डेज में लिक्विड फंड ने, उसी लिक्विड फंड ने उस YTM से ज्यादा परफॉर्मेंस दिया. एंड इफ यू लुक एट द नंबर फॉर मनी मार्केट फंड, एक्चुअल एक्सपेंसेस 0.10% नेगेटिव. इट मींस जो YTM दिखाया गया है, एक्चुअल फंड रिटर्न ओवर अ 6, 9 एंड 12 मंथ पीरियड हैज बीन हायर देन YTM. Forget about the expenses. And if you look at data for short term bond fund, it is 0.2% higher. And if you look at all season bond fund, actually is 1% higher. And what is the probability that these funds actually outperform YTM? On an average, 80% of the time, the actual return of the funds are higher than YTM return. And average, what is the average higher return? You see the numbers. So जो YTM minus net expenses is also not the true story. And if you see this slide, is very, very interesting. This is one GSEC fund, one of the oldest GSEC fund in India. कौन सा भैया बताइए, सबसे पुराना GSEC फंड कौन है इंडिया में? कब लॉन्च हुआ सर? दिसंबर 1998 के अंदर कोटक गिल्ड फंड लॉन्च हुआ. इट इज द लॉन्गेस्ट गिल्ड फंड इन द कंट्री. मतलब कितने साल हो गए उसको? 25वां साल चल रहा है. And what is the compounded return of this fund? 9% compounding. कितना? Now we understand what is the meaning of compounding. मैं आपको explain करता हूँ compounding का मतलब क्या है. If a debt fund compound your money at 7.3% in a 10-year time, it doubles your money. In this market, where a last 5-year return has been very, very challenging, all gilt fund, category average gilt fund, banking and PSU fund, floater fund, medium term fund and corporate bond fund, in all 5 categories, the category average return has been doubling the client's money in 10-year period. That is the return of debt mutual fund we have delivered. Now we see this slide. Now what do you see? October 2002. What is the 10-year GSEC at that time, sir? And when you see numbers going down till October 2012. Now 10 years later, what should be the return of this fund? 7.14% is a 10-year GSEC yield when you start investing. What should be the return 10 years later? 7.14 minus expenses. Is that right? But you see the return 10 years later. 8.2, 5.10 start YTM, end return 6.4 compound. You look at all the period, and when you compound, convert the compounding return in absolute return, what you find this number. And when you take on net of taxes, then what you figure out, the even net of taxes in every 10-year period, debt mutual fund has outperformed all tax-free bonds. Forget about FDs. Okay. So this is the average taxation for debt mutual fund. Actually, it is far better than equity mutual fund. And I got a message that I have to bind it down. So I'm binding it down, no problem. But my request to all of you MFD, अगर आपको next level growth चाहिए, debt mutual fund को अपनाओ, SIP करो, आपके client का पैसा डेट एफडी के अंदर है तो उनको बोलो 4-5 फंड में डाले पैसा, 5% आपको दे. और सबसे बड़ा रिक्वेस्ट आपसे है, क्या आप लोगों ने अपना अलोकेशन डेट म्यूचुअल फंड में कर रखा है? क्या कर रखा है तो स्टेटमेंट क्लाइंट को दिखाइए. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you so much for such an insightful discussion.
Vijay ji, thank you so much. I'm extremely sorry. We have speakers lined up, so we have to follow the time. But Vijay ji हमारे साथ पूरे event में है. You all can definitely take his valuable insights and guidance over lunch. So once again, thank you very much, Vijay ji. Thank you. So I think Mr. Ashish Somaiya is behind somewhere. He should be in the front row. Please, please come forward.
Thank you, Alpaji. I would request you to please felicitate, sir.
मुझे एग्जैक्टली पता है कि आशीष यहाँ पे कैसे आए हैं. भाग के आए, कूद के आए, जंप मार के आए, मुझे नहीं पता है, पर आ गए हैं, उसके लिए जोरदार ताड़ी.
Yes, we indeed believe that, and I think the topic he's going to talk about is the right time, right place, right? And before we invite him on the stage, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to all of you. Well, as we all know, it is always important to be at the right place and at the right time. What does it actually mean? In the best position or place to take advantage of an opportunity. The key to success is to be in the right place and at the right time. And now I would take this opportunity to invite on the stage Mr. Ashish Somaiya, CEO, White Oak Capital Management. Mr. Ashish, has over 20 years of experience in business strategy and management, process-driven sales and distribution, product development and marketing of investment offerings. So let us learn from Mr. Ashish Somaya on how important it is to be at the right place and at the right time. Can we hear a big round of applause for him as we invite him on the stage?
I should have asked Vijay what is the trick to running this. Is it that slide change करने से चला जाता है क्या? Okay. So I'd like to thank Alpa and PIFA members and all the attendees here for inviting me here and giving me the opportunity to speak to all of you. It's my pleasure. As has been mentioned, the topic of my talk is to be in the right place at the right time. And what I've done is that before I get into the presentation, there is a short quiz. Can we go to the slides, please? Can we do the slideshow so I can change the slide? Yeah. So, very difficult question for all of you. Who is the most successful and most famous investor in the world? And I know it is very difficult, so I put a hint also at the bottom. Please read carefully and answer. Who's the most successful and most famous investor? Mr. Buffett. Huh? No? नहीं ये साइड पे मतलब स्लाइड शो नहीं होएगा. Okay, so this difficult question you have already answered. So the next question, what is common between you and Mr. Buffett? Now I know that there is some slide sorter which has also been put. Try to ignore it. The quiz is busted already. But what is common between you and Mr. Buffett? Compounding. अच्छा एक्चुअली ये कंपाउंडिंग का बात किया उससे एक चीज याद है. आपको पता है कि जैसे लोग बोलते हैं कि सक्सेसफुल इन्वेस्टर्स और वैल्यू इन्वेस्टर्स और इक्विटी इन्वेस्टर्स दे लिव लॉन्ग. ऐसा सुना है आपने? ऐसा बोलते हैं ना कि जो लोग सक्सेसफुल इन्वेस्टर है, वैल्यू इन्वेस्टर है, वो लंबा जीते हैं. ऐसा सुना है आपने? उल्टा एक्चुअली जो लोग लंबा जीते हैं वही सक्सेसफुल इन्वेस्टर हो सकते हैं. दैट आई थिंक इज something to keep in mind. But anyway, more importantly, what is common between you and Mr. Buffett? Is there anything common between you and Mr. Buffett? Sorry? Staying in the business. Actually मैंने hint डाला है यहाँ पे, आप देखिए ध्यान से देखिए. जब भी Mr. Buffett को पूछा जाता है कि Mr. Buffett, what is the secret of your success? So in very complicated language, बिल्कुल. So in complicated language, he says that the secret of his success is that he won the ovarian lottery. इसका क्या मतलब है मैं आपको समझाता हूँ. जैसे आप जानते हैं, you know how human beings are born. No? No, you have to keep it interactive. मतलब ऐसे तो Saturday afternoon तो नींद आ जाएगा सबको. So obviously you know how human beings take birth, right? So at inception there is a race. Right? Like one sperm wins the race, fertilizes an egg, and that is how human beings take birth. Correct? Now the point is that there were millions which were involved in the race. And those millions lost the race, and you won the race, you took birth, and that is why you are here. So what is most important point is that, जैसे कभी कभी लोग बोलते हैं कि मैंने इतना मेहनत किया, मेरा ये करियर है, मेरा ये बिजनेस है, मेरा ये अचीवमेंट है. Actually, the reality is that कि भाई जब तक पैदा हुए तब तक तो आपका कोई रोल भी नहीं है, तब तक तो it is purely luck. उसके बाद जो भी आपने किया वो आपने किया. So what Mr. Buffett says is that the secret of his success is that he was born in 1930 and he was born in US. So it's obviously it stands to reason that instead of in 1930, instead of US, if he was born in Kenya or Bangladesh, he would not be Mr. Buffett. And if he was born in the US, but instead of 1930, if he was born in 1830, then he would not be Mr. Buffett. Correct? So he says that the reason for his success is that he was in the right place at the right time. Correct? So the suggestion is that the thing which is common between you and Mr. Buffett is that you are in the right place at the right time. लेकिन मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि सब लोग मिस्टर बफेट बन जाएंगे. उसके लिए 70-80 साल इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ता है. Correct? और उसके लिए 70-80 साल मतलब 90 years, you have to live 90 years. See, the point is that by 60 years, many people will have $1 billion. But by 90 years, how many will have 100 billion? Correct? उसके लिए सबसे पहले 90 जीना पड़ेगा और उसके पहले इन्वेस्ट भी करना पड़ेगा. So the most important thing to note is that you are in the right place at the right time. But the last question of the quiz, is right place, right time only about luck? जैसे मैंने बताया कि जब तक आप born हुए, आप कहाँ born हुए, कब born हुए, उसमें तो आपका कोई रोल ही नहीं है. It's completely luck. Okay? And still you find that you are in the right place at the right time. So now I want to ask you, is right place at the right time only about luck? तो उसके लिए भी मैंने हिंट डाला है यहाँ पे. आप लोग मूवीज देखते हैं? नहीं देखते हैं. मूवीज देखना बहुत जरूरी होता है एक्चुअली. Because movies are not written randomly. You know, people who write movies, they have huge depth of experience. Only then they can write those things. But anyway, my point is that there is an iconic movie called Hera Fairy. In that there is an iconic character of Paresh Rawal called Babu Bhaiya. So do you know in that movie, the protagonist is Akshay Kumar. Do you know what he says to Paresh Rawal about being in the right place at the right time? Good one. So Alok is a Gujarati. There is a kahavat in Gujarati. Gujarati में proverb है कि लक्ष्मी जी तिलक लगावा आवे त्यारे मोढું ધોવા ન જવાય. So what it means is that being in the right place at the right time is not about luck alone. Even if you find yourself in the right place at the right time, you still have to do the right things. And in our business or in our profession, what is the thing about doing the right things? Correct? You are in the right place at the right time, but what is the meaning of doing right things? So if you follow sports, right, now leave Bollywood, if you follow sports, if you follow, for example, tennis. Now tennis is a very arduous and very, very difficult game. And tennis is the only sport where they report a statistic called unforced errors. Why that is done is because in tennis it is most likely that if you don't do any adventures, you just keep the ball in the court, it is most likely that you will win. And the opponent will make all the mistakes. Right? So if you try, they also report winners. But you know that in any match, the number of winners and the number of unforced errors will actually determine who wins and who loses. Same way if you watch test cricket, there are many times it happens that, you know, test match hai, slow turning track, difficult match, 4 दिन खत्म हो गया, चारों innings खत्म होने आ गया, and that side which is batting last, on the 5th day, they need 150 runs. And they have 5 wickets in hand. So what does the commentator say? Pitch पे रहेगा तो जीत जाएगा. Correct? So thankfully for us in our profession, just being on the pitch or just keeping the ball in the court is actually more than enough. You know, if you don't do anything crazy, if you don't do anything adventurous, but you last long, I think that is the secret to success, right? So I think this is something to keep in mind. Now nowadays what you're seeing is that there is a lot of talk and there is a lot of excitement. And you know, the Prime Minister also said that India ka Amrit Kaal aa gaya. Like if you see World Economic Forum, if you see Davos, all the publicity was about the Amrit Kaal, correct? Now, there is one issue that all the extremely powerful people, very famous people, very, very powerful people, when they say something, people treat as if is it some slogan or is it some marketing which is being done. Now, the fact is that, you know, it's obviously, this is not all, these are not political statements or slogans. This is actually reality. It is actually grounded in data, okay? And I'm quite sure that people who are in the, who are following the economy, who are watching business news, and people who are listening to fund managers, I think you must have been told 100 times about India's potential and why this is Amrit Kaal, etc. So I don't want to repeat all of that, but I just want to give you one very, very simple arithmetic that you should keep in mind. Basically, it's like this, that people, you know, returns are always made on growth, correct? So let's take a simple example. Let us say there is a company. I'll come to the country level, but let's take an ordinary example. Let's take a company. Let's say a company has a turnover of 100 crores. On that turnover of 100 crores, let us say they make 20 crore profit. So what is the value of this company going to be? You know, we are in NSE, obviously we know that Nifty PE multiple, let us say Nifty PE multiple is 20 times. So the average company is trading 20 times of its earnings. So if a company has 100 crore turnover, it makes 20 crore profit, PE multiple is 20 times. So the market cap of the company should be 400 crores. Now, if the company keeps making 20 crore profit every year, then the market value will not change. It will remain 400 crores. But if the 100 crore turnover becomes 120 crore and 20 crore profit becomes 25 crores, then automatically the market value of the company will be 25 multiplied by 20, it will become 500. So 400 will become 500 if the profit goes up by 5 crores, correct? So that's why I said that returns are always made on growth, okay? So it stands to reason that if returns are made on growth, then investment will only flow where there is growth. Is that correct? Now look at this at a country level. The world's annual output, the world's GDP, you take pre-COVID, the world's GDP was say $90 trillion, okay? Out of $90 trillion, 22 or 23 trillion was only America. And before COVID, in 2019, the US economy grew 3.5%. So on 22 trillion, if they grow 3.5%, how much growth have they contributed to the world? Say it is $700 billion, correct? Because I said that returns are made on growth and investment will follow growth. So I'm just explaining to you that for the world as a system, where does the growth actually come from? US, which was 22 trillion, they grew 3.5%. तो उनके annual output का इजाफा $700 billion हुआ 2019 में. China, which was 16 trillion, grew about 6%. So they added almost 1 trillion. Now, the world in a good year grows 3%. So if 90 trillion में इजाफा होता है 2.5 trillion का, तो वो 2.5 trillion में से 1.6 या 1.7 trillion contribution was only US and America. So now you understand why they are the epitome of capital markets investment. They are the biggest attractor of portfolio flows. Why everybody wants to export to US and China. You understand that because 60-70% of the world's growth came only from US and China, which means that it will be the biggest investment destination for anybody, anywhere, correct? Where was India? Trillion, and we grew 3.7% in 2019-20. So which means we were 16 to 17% of the world's population, but we contributed only 4% to the growth of the world, correct? This is where we were a couple of years back. Does anybody know how much we have contributed to the world's growth in 2022? Absolutely. So this is what has changed dramatically because now we are 3.5 trillion and on 3.5 trillion the growth is nearly 7%. So which means you would stand to add more like 250 billion or something. But like he rightly pointed that 250 billion is upwards of 20% because the world is not growing 2.5 trillion. The world is growing say 1.5 to 1.6 trillion and if you add 250 billion then you are 20%. Now you understand why there is excitement to invest in India. And the excitement is bigger because in the foreseeable future, we are likely to be the excitement is bigger because if you see the last two sentences, what we've summarized out there, that India will be the biggest consumer market, the biggest labor market, and amongst the fastest growth investment destinations in the whole world, right? And why this will actually happen is because when we were kids, we were told that having a large population is a liability, correct? But now what is happening is that the richest countries in the world and the countries which contribute the highest to the world's growth, they all are aging. And by rule of thumb, typically populations are divided in three parts. There are kids, there are adults, and there are older people. And as you will appreciate, kids don't produce anything, they don't contribute to growth, they don't consume too much. And older people, to the extent that, a lot of old people are entrepreneurs and they are professionals, so they continue to be active. But by and large, in the rural economy or in the public sector or in formal employment, people who retire, they don't end up contributing too much to the growth. So it stands to reason that maximum consumption, maximum productivity, everything comes from people who are somewhere in the vicinity of 20 years to 65 years of age. And at a country level, the growth is always some function of population and productivity of population. Always. So if your population is declining, and if because of the age, if your productivity is declining, then what you will see is that for most countries, it's an irretrievable kind of situation. If you see here on this graph, there are 4 lines. There is the line on the top which is red, which is China, which is declining precipitously. Then there is a blue line, which is Europe, which is also declining. Then there is a gray line, which is US, which is also declining, but eventually it stabilizes thanks to your kids and grandkids. And then there is India, which is the only one which is consistently going up. Now, obviously for the world, if, in India, what is going to happen is that nearly 70% of our population, in the next 7 years, 70% of our population will be in the working age, in the productive age, right? And you know what the government is doing, what is most remarkable is that when we as a country are going to have maximum people in the productive age, well before that, we have started investing quite dramatically into enhancing the productivity of the people, right? Say for example, the biggest things which have happened in the last 10 years, we have probably the best telecom network. That is one of the crucial ingredients for high productivity. We have started investing heavily into infrastructure, whether roads, ports, airports, and seaports, all of those things are being, railways, all of these are being invested in. We have 24/7 power, which was not the case 10 years back. And nowadays, for example, the government is pushing that first make people doctors and CAs and then let them learn English. Now, I have heard it firsthand from my bosses who didn't come to Bombay, who were not born in Bombay, but they've come from all over the country and then landed up in Bombay. And 10, 20 years back, if you did not know English, it would be a struggle to be a doctor or a chartered accountant, right? But today, what is the government saying? That first let them become a doctor or a chartered accountant, they can learn English later. Why is that being done? That is being done to enhance productivity of the people. When we do production-linked incentive, why we are saying you cannot assemble and export? You have to bring the technology and you have to manufacture locally. That is being done to improve the productivity and the skill set of the people. So basic point is that growth is always a function of population and productivity. We are entering the prime of our population, and at the right time, I think a lot of effort and investment is being done to enhance the productivity. All investment in healthcare, all investment in education, all investment in social infrastructure, all of that goes towards enhancing the productivity of the people. So what you're going to actually see is that, eventually, one other arithmetic you must remember, that when GDP grows, thankfully population doesn't grow as fast as GDP, right? So when GDP grows, population doesn't grow as fast. So when GDP grows, per capita income will grow disproportionately. Is that right? जितना GDP grow होगा, per capita income उससे ज़्यादा fast grow होगा. And the way per capita arithmetic works is that if our per capita income was say $1,000 10 years back, and the cost of roti kapda makan was $900, the disposable income would be $100. But when per capita income goes from 1,000 to 2,000, the disposable income goes from 100 to maybe like 300, 400 or 500, because cost of roti kapda makan will go from 900 to whatever the inflation rate is, right? So you should always remember this relationship, that when GDP grows, per capita income will grow disproportionately, and when per capita income grows, disposable income will also grow disproportionate to that. So GDP जब grow होता है, disposable income बहुत तेज रफ्तार से actually grow होता है. And उसके वजह से, you can see what is the impact of that. What is the impact of that? You can see that in the last 5 to 10 years, just look at this statistic. In September 2017, the biggest impact is on discretionary consumption. So you see in September 2017, consumer discretionary, there were only 50 out of 500 companies of BSE 500 were consumer discretionary. Okay? And within consumer discretionary, the biggest block was just autos. So there were 22 auto companies and only 28 non-auto discretionary companies in BSE 500. In a span of 5 years, see the dramatic change. That 50 has become, how much has the 50 become? It has become 71. And the change is not auto companies. The change is discretionary consumption. And you can see examples of all the brands that I have put here. Now today, if you're on social media it is very, very fashionable, very, very popular to say that all this is hyped up and this is all a bubble. You know, I think never listen to people who give you all these stories. In the next 20 years, you are only going to see more and more companies related to discretionary consumption coming in the market. Okay? And you know, I'll tell you another thing, that if you want to make money, it is very important to be skeptical. But the problem with skeptical people is that they forget that there is very thin line being between skeptical and cynical. So be very careful. Making money, skepticism is very healthy. But making money, if that skepticism becomes cynicism, it is actually disastrous. Correct? So if you see in the next 15 to 20 years, the single biggest change is going to be disposable income, and the single biggest change is going to be discretionary consumption. Because when people move from lower middle income to middle income, their first priority is to look better and live better. Is there any reason, tell me something, is there any reason why all consumer companies are coming to the stock market? Or even take our industry, why is it that all broking companies, wealth companies, asset managers and insurance, why is it that they have got listed only in the last 5 years? Why not 10 years back? Why not 20 years back? Why only last 5 years? Why is it that all these discretionary consumption companies are coming to the market only in the last 5 years? Why not 20 years back? 20 years back when I started my career, the company I worked for, they launched a fund called FMCG fund. उसमें 5 स्टॉक होते थे, छठा स्टॉक मिलना मुश्किल होता था. Today if you see the fact sheets of mutual funds, there is nothing called FMCG, it's called consumer. And consumer has been subdivided into consumer staples and consumer discretionary. And consumer discretionary is subdivided into apparels and footwear and beauty products and whatnot. Correct? Why this change has happened only in the last 5 to 10 years? It's obvious, because only in the last 10 years we've gone from being a poor country to a lower middle class country. And in the next 10 years, this will only accelerate, because we'll go from being lower middle class to becoming a middle class country. What is the biggest listed sector in our stock market? Financials. Second biggest? IT. What is the biggest listed sector in China? Consumer discretionary. It's discretionary consumption. Sorry? In China, the biggest by a mile is consumer discretionary. It's 30% of their benchmark. In India, it is 9% of BSE 500. That's the difference, right? So what we should keep in mind is that when you become a middle income country, saving, investing and consumption, that is what actually changes. And thankfully for us, we are not the first one to traverse this journey. This journey has been traversed by many countries before us, right? And the whole history of the world shows that when you go from 2000 to 4000 to 6000, this actually works like a video game. When you were kids, you might have played Prince of Persia or any of these video games. How do these video games work? When you cross levels, the new tools and weapons open up for you. The game becomes faster, the game becomes complex, but new tools and weapons open for you so that you can play better. Why I'm comparing this with per capita income? Because exactly the same business. If per capita income keeps rising, more and more sectors become more and more material. Now you know why all these sectors got listed only in last 5-10 years. The first insurance company to cross 1000 crore profit is only in the last 3 to 4 years. If you cross 1000 crore profit, you can make 40-50,000 crore market cap. Otherwise, why will you get listed? Right? So this is all changed only in the last 5 years. And you can visualize for yourself how much it will change in the next 10 years. That is the key thing to keep in mind, right? And you know, I'll not take a lot of your time. I know that time is a constraint, but just last couple of thoughts that I want to leave you with. Just keep this in mind. Returns are always made on growth. So investments will follow growth. Very important thing, growth is relevant only if it comes at scale. If you are an African country with 50 billion GDP and you grow 20% a year, it doesn't move the needle for anybody. Because your incremental output is just going to be some 5-10 billion. It doesn't move the needle for any Apple, Samsung, Tesla or anybody. But if you are 3.5 trillion and you grow 7%, then your additional incremental output is 250-300 billion, and you know that means you are adding one Pakistan every year. Because Pakistan's GDP is about 275 billion, correct? So that's the size that you are actually adding year on year, every year. And there are not many countries, like for example in our country there is big controversy, when will we touch 5 trillion? नहीं 2024 क्यों बोला, 2026 में हुए. If you study physics, you are told that vectors have magnitude and direction. In the stock market, only important is direction. Don't get into hair splitting about when it will happen and how much it will happen. The fact that it will happen means you are in the right place. And I think that is all that it actually requires. Okay? And the last one point is that, by the way, all economic growth does not mean stock market growth. So if you were to actually look at China, for instance, they have blown the lights out on economic growth. But their stock market has given negative return in the last 5, 10, 15 years. It doesn't mean there won't be a trading rally. It doesn't mean they cannot outperform us. They are outperforming us in the last 3 months. They may outperform us. But if you take the long range of 5, 10, 15 years, whatever their economic growth is there, it has not translated into stock market growth. And you are perpetually told that India is trading expensive. You heard that India is expensive? Don't listen to people who keep repeating that, because they are talking without data. It is well known fact that countries which are democratic, they trade at higher PE multiples vis-a-vis countries with less democracy. जैसे हमारे कंट्री में भी डिबेट चल रहा है हम डेमोक्रेसी है कि नहीं, वो अलग बात है, बट डेमोक्रेसी कभी ब्लैक या व्हाइट नहीं होता है. इट इज ऑलवेज अ स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ ग्रे, एंड द वर्ल्ड डेटा शोज दैट वी आर लाइट ग्रे, राइट? So countries which are democratic always trade at a higher premium. Countries which have a track record of protecting minority investors' interest, they always trade at a premium. इसके ऊपर भी हमारे यहाँ पे डिबेट है, but the fact is that at a world level, if you compare, we have a much better track record of protecting minority interest. Countries which have low exposure of state-owned enterprises in their indices, they always trade at a premium. उस पे भी हमारे यहाँ बहुत विवाद है, but the reality is that in our market cap, state-owned enterprises have very less weightage, and in most of our peers, there is a very, very high weightage. And the last thing is that countries which have respect for capital, like if you take PE multiple, you might find that many countries are cheaper than India. But if you take price divided by free cash flow, especially free cash flow after removing opportunity cost, India will trade at a premium always because it deserves a premium, right? So that doesn't mean there won't be trading rallies or there won't be any relative change in valuation. But do not listen to people who keep saying that India is expensive, India is expensive. India is expensive for a reason. The reason is the growth potential, but more importantly, stock markets don't operate in isolation. Stock markets operate in a framework. And that framework is about regulation and minority investor protection. That framework is about democracy. That framework is about respect for capital. And that framework is about the market construct itself. So you are obviously in the right place at the right time. Don't think you are lucky. You are lucky for sure, but it will take a lot of doing, you know. So just keep the ball in the court. Thank you very much for listening me out. It's my pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Please stay on the stage. And I would definitely like to recognize my dear friends, Debashish sir, Gaurav Goyal, Gaurav Suri, Hemant Agrawal, Rajesh Singh. All of you, thank you so much for coming here. Of course, Kailash is our speaker also. So, of course, Kailash Kulkarni also. Okay, so Ashish is saying Kailash is following Ashish everywhere.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again, I would request Alpaji to please come forward and felicitate. I would also request Sandeep sir to join in. Thank you once again. Thank you so much for your insightful discussion. Thank you Alpaji, thank you Sandeep sir, thank you Ashish ji. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our host session, before we move on to our first panel discussion of the day, I would request all of hashtags for the day. Hashtag Laksh Pakka, hashtag Jeet Pakki. And now let's start with our first panel discussion of the day, and the topic is behavioral science and its application in financial services sector. The topic of this panel discussion is behavioral science and its application, and let me now take this opportunity to introduce our moderator and the panelists. The first our first panelist is Mr. Jatinder Pal Singh, Chief Marketing Officer, Mahindra Manulife Mutual Fund. I would request all of you to please give it up for Mr. Jatinder Pal Singh here on the stage. Moving on, I would take this opportunity to invite Mr. Anunya Kumar, President, Sales and Distribution, IIFL Wealth and Asset Management. I would request sir as well to kindly join us on the stage. Next, I would request Mr. Mahmood Basha, Head Retail and International Business, Baroda BNP Paribas Asset Management Company, to please join us on the stage. And our next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Pratyush Pillai, Chief Behavior Design Officer, Tinker Labs, to kindly join us on the stage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, calling our moderator for this session, I would like to invite Mr. Alok Vora, Growth Head, Probus Insurance Broker Private Limited, to kindly join us on the stage. Let us welcome him as well with a big round of applause. Mr. Alok, as I have observed, is filled with energy, and I'm looking forward to how he is going to take this session forward, and looking forward to you moderating this session. Alok ji, over to you. Hello.
Okay, all right. Loud and clear? Awesome. Topic which is very close to my heart and everybody's heart is what I hear from a lot of people this morning. And दो तीन जन उठकर आए कि हम आपको सुनने आए हैं पूना से, तो मुझे उनको क्लैरिफाई करना पड़ा कि बिहेवियरल साइंस मेरा एक्सपर्टीज या डोमेन वाला टॉपिक नहीं है. मैं खुद यहाँ पे सीखने आया हूँ. तो मैं यहाँ पे एक क्यूरियस इन्वेस्टर या क्यूरियस डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बन के मॉडरेट कर रहा हूँ. एक्सपर्ट्स यहाँ पर है मेरे लेफ्ट और राइट में. सो ऑन दैट नोट, लेट मी लाइक जस्ट किक दिस पैनल डिस्कशन ऑफ. सो यू नो, बिहेव एक ऐसा वर्ड है, एक ऐसा शब्द है जो मैं स्कूल के टाइम से सुनते आया हूँ. लाइक यू नो, स्कूल में जाता था तो लोग कहते थे, टीचर कहती थी, यार लोग बिहेव कर, यार क्या कर रहे हैं, ठीक से पढ़ाई कर. घर पे लाइक मम्मी और पापा एंड एवरीबॉडी वुड से कि लाइक लोग यू नो मेहमान आने वाले हैं, ठीक से बिहेव करना. And then in office space also, like you know, somewhere or the other I'll get a memo from HR कि यार तू बड़ी शैतानी करता है, काम वाम नहीं करता है. So you know, I want to like on that note, I just want to like introduce our panelists, which you know, on left hand side is JP, Anunaya, we have Mr. Basha and Pratyush. Pratyush is the Chief Behavior Design Officer, or the so-called CBDO. बाकी हमारे इंडस्ट्री के designations are very common, but Pratyush, something which like is very intriguing and you know, a topic of curiosity. ये CBDO होता क्या है यार? What is the Chief Behavior Design Officer? हमने तो नहीं सुना कभी.
So it's a fairly new one. Hello everyone, great to be here. So it's a fairly new designation. Chief and Officer को आप छोड़ सकते हो उसमें. But behavior design जो है, it's basically talking about humans in the real world and how humans actually behave. So for a lot of times we've looked at humans as these idealists or very rational beings, almost like, you know, a robo from Star Wars who, if they know what the right thing to do is, they will behave that way. You know, if they know smoking is bad, they will stop smoking. If they know you shouldn't drink and drive, you will not drink and drive. But the way we really work in the real world, the way humans really work, is what behavior design really empathizes with. We are all irrational human beings, and that's by design. And what behavior design tries to do is to build products or services that cater to that real human being.
Thank you, Pratyush. I've also heard, like you know, in a lot of forums and through a lot of research, that it's very difficult to change human behavior. So, I mean, आप फिर भी कोशिश किए जा रहे हो?
So it's a persistent thing, which is why people like me have jobs. But
some hope. Our industry has hope.
We have some hope. But the reason for it to be so hard is the way our brains are designed, right? We have the neocortex part of the brain, which is called system 2, which is the front part of our brain responsible for very reflective thinking, very long and kind of thought through speech, and a lot of rational thinking happens in that front part of the brain. But the surprising discovery is that that's only 5% of our decisions and actions. 95% of everything we do, including why my left hand is probably moving as I speak, is all controlled by that system one brain, which is 95% of our day-to-day lives. Right? So imagine your whole day today. 95% of that day, you will do things that you even don't kind of recognize, you don't know why you did what you did. And only 5% is what you will recognize as this is what I did today. Right? So with that understanding, if you ask somebody why they do something, why don't you invest regularly, why don't you follow through on your SIPs, they will never know the answer, because it's the subconscious processing that really is responsible for the lack of behavior or the kind of prevalence of the wrong behavior. Right? So which is why it's hard, but it's also extremely interesting to empathize with that 95% and then design systems for that.
Very interesting. I'll come to that systems, and I've heard of system 1, system 2 and how it works in a while. But on that note, let me move to JP. JP, mutual fund sahi hai as a campaign has been, I think, on in the industry since almost a decade now. 10 saal ho gaye. And 6-7 saal ho gaye approx. So to what extent do you think has this campaign not only push the industry from a marketing perspective, but also been instrumental on a behavior change front? What do you think?
आलोक, प्रत्युष ने जो बात बोली, आपने जो प्रश्न डाला, तो जरा सी मैं वहीं से कड़ी उठाता हूँ। देखिए, हमारे जब हम बचपन में आपने बोला ना, तो हमारे घर में भी एक बिहेवियर ऑफिसर होता था, और अगर मम्मी से नहीं संभला तो बोलते शाम को आएगा घर तब हम दिखा दूंगी मैं, राइट? तो और स्कूल में जिसके हाथ में छड़ी थी तो बिहेवियर ऑफिसर था। अब ये कुछ भी हो, बिहेवियर तो उन्होंने ठीक कहा, 95% तो मेरा फिक्स हो गया। कहीं मैं कोशिश भी करूँ, क्लासेस अटेंड करूँ, कोई लाइव क्लासेस जाऊँ, तो भी थोड़े से अवेयरनेस बढ़ जाएगी, शायद बिहेवियर बहुत बदलेगा नहीं। और इसमें कुछ सही गलत नहीं है, क्योंकि आलोक ने एक बहुत अच्छा वर्ड यूज़ किया, इरेशनल, राइट? अगर ह्यूमन बीइंग रैशनल नहीं होता ना, तो जो आज हम देखते हैं ना अपने आसपास की ज़िंदगी, राइट, हमारी नहीं होती। हम भी उसी तरह जंगलों में रह रहे होते, जानवरों की तरह। हम भी जानवर ही हैं एक तरह से, लेकिन इस इरेशनैलिटी के लिए ही हम आज की अपने जो ह्यूमन बीइंग ने ज़िंदगी बनाई, इसलिए बनाई है कि कभी आगे बढ़े तो औजार बना लिए, गाड़ियाँ बना ली, रॉकेट बना लिए, सैटेलाइट बना लिए। सिमिलरली हमारी जगत में, हमारे निवेश के जगत में भी ये वैलिड है, क्योंकि अगर इरेशनैलिटी नहीं है कि किसी को, शेर को जाके किसी ने बोला नहीं तो ये खाना जो मारा ना, ये डियर, इसको 20 साल बाद खाना। आप बोल रहे हो ना अपने निवेशक को कि जो तू कमा रहा है बचा पैसे को, क्योंकि जब तू बूढ़ा हो जाएगा या तेरी लाइफ की गोल से पूरा करने हैं ना, ये रैशनल बिहेवियर है। अब अच्छा खराब बताइए, इसमें खराब क्या है? सो ये इसलिए इसमें मैं इसको पॉजिटिव भी लेता हूँ और नेगेटिव भी हो सकता है कि अब खाना ही बंद कर लो, सिर्फ इन्वेस्टमेंट ही करो, मत खाओ, वो भी नहीं होगा। और आपने जो बात बोली, आपने कड़ी बोली, यहीं से वहाँ आता है म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, राइट? कुछ लोग कह सकते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड सही क्या, हंसी मजाक में चलता है, आप जाओगे कहीं पे सोशल मीडिया में, क्या ये सही है, लोग पूछ लेते हैं। लेकिन देखिए, अल्टीमेटली ये टैगलाइन है, और टैगलाइन के पीछे बहुत सोच है, बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है, उसके अंदर एक तजुर्बा है इतने सालों का। मैं इतनी एश्योरिटी से कह सकता हूँ कि सबसे ट्रांसपेरेंट इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रोडक्ट म्यूचुअल फंड है, राइट? और यहाँ जितने लोग बैठे हैं या मेरे बात जो सुनेंगे कहीं भी, ये हम उस कॉन्फिडेंस से हम बेचते हैं, राइट? अब हर उसके बाद जब इन्वेस्ट, तो ये निवेशक के टच करने की बात है कि एक कड़ी के साथ में, एक टैगलाइन के साथ में कोई बोल हमने ले लिया, उसके साथ टच करने की बात है। एंड हमको कॉन्फिडेंस है कि हम कैसे मैनेज करते हैं, पीछे रेगुलेशन जो है, that is all in interest of investor, and then we come in as a component facilitating all that.
Very true.
तो हाँ,
Very true.
मैं तो कहूँगा कि हाँ, म्यूचुअल फंड सही है उसके अंदर, और इसको बेहतर बनाते रहेंगे हम।
Excellent. Anunaya, on that front, only one of the investor traits which at least I have seen since I was in ICICI in 2001, 20-21 साल हो गए, is that वो investor हमेशा वो rear view mirror में देखकर गाड़ी चलाने की कोशिश करता है, right? And to what extent do you think has that changed, or for that matter, let me come 2 steps back and ask that question, वो change करने की जरूरत भी है क्या? What do you think?
Thanks, Alok. A very warm welcome to the entire audience. You know what, we were talking about a consumer investor behavior and all, but what determines behavior? you know what determines behavior is an experience. हमारा experience क्या रहा है वो बताता है हमारे behavior क्या हो सकता है और क्या होना चाहिए. But the beauty is, as an investor, we have been through this experience of looking into the rearview mirror and trying to move forward, and have always met with an accident, but we haven't learned it. Now, what am I trying to say over here? And I'll spend a minute on that to bring some numbers to make my statement much more qualifying. If I look at the market on the last 20 to 23 odd years have traded at a price to book of a 3.1 being the average. 3.1 average पे market price to book पे trade करता रहा है अगर हम पिछले 22 साल जाते हैं तो. Let's add one standard deviation positive, one standard deviation negative. What am I trying to say? Market has demonstrated its entire behavior between a price to book of a 2 and a 4. So every time market touches closer to 4, it gives you an indication, and if you would have seen it, the returns anybody who gets into the market at a price to book of a 4 over next 5 years gets a compounded of 4. But if you are able to get market at the lower end, which is the recently that we had seen, which was in 2020, you know, the next 5 years compounding works out to be 40%. And the beauty is, the market only spends 10% at the higher end, 5% at the lower end. So what is market doing? It is actually spending 85% of its time delivering a return of 11 to 12%, which is what we all say. When we go into the market, what do we say to the client? Sir, equity बहुत अच्छा investment कर सकते हैं, 5 साल का time दीजिए, 12% return मिलेगा आपको. That's what we say. We say this why? Because actually market spends 85% of time delivering that. Now this is one pattern that we have seen. Now let's look at the behavior. The behavior is, at a price to book of a 2, your 1 year backward returns are negative. And because your last 1 year return was negative, the flows had also been negative. The people aren't giving money at a price to book of a 2. Why? Because they are looking at the rear view mirror. When the price to book from a 2 to 3 comes in, your 1 year return comes to say around 7 to 8%. And your flows goes to around 10 odd %. Now look, see the patterns, how it is building up now. Between 3 and a 4, your 1 year previous return looks like 13 to 18%, and your flows starts getting to 45 to 50%. And the best is, beyond 4 price to book, when your 1 year return is actually 35 to 40 odd %, contrary to your zero inflows, the inflows are still 10%. And if I look at successively, as I mentioned, at a 2 price to book, you are actually getting 40%. And a price of book of a 4, you're getting only 4%. But the flows are coming just the opposite. So this is exactly the behavior which is what is holding back many investors. And Sir Warren Buffett, you know, has set 2 rules, a very interesting one. One is that never lose money, and second is don't forget the rule number 1. And that's important, which is where we have to look at it. And that's where the role of you all people, in terms of handholding, clients' expectations, have a larger role to play.
Excellent. Thank you, Anunaya. So the left-hand side of me, when I was listening to Anunaya, this side of the brain was absolutely understanding, given I have some understanding of PE, PB and all. But as I said, right-hand side is a representative of a common man, an investor. Usse kuch palle nahi pada. My question to Pratyush here is, Pratyush, you know, as an outsider, as a neutral third party, hearing us, what do you interpret like, क्या करना चाहिए हमें? ये बात सही कर रहे हैं हम, पर वहां तक नहीं पहुंच रही है बात. तो क्या विचार है आपके?
Right, absolutely, and I mean, great points made by all the panelists. So, like, I've had the luxury of being around a lot of new investors, people just entering the mutual fund market. You know, my sister, my wife, friends at office and stuff like that. Everybody trying to get into the market. And while, you know, there is some very clear direction, like Sir gave just now, what happens is the vast amount of information for this investor becomes super confusing. And there's something called choice overload, decision fatigue. All these are aspects.
Analysis paralysis.
Analysis
ये सब चीज़ें सुना है
paralysis.
मैंने.
Absolutely. So with so many things, and if you walk through the journey an investor is making, right? So first I have to decide to invest. Now, when I'm choosing to invest, I have to choose between categories. I have stocks, I have a small case option, I might have mutual funds, and so many other areas to invest in. I look at the campaign mutual funds sahi hai, and I say, okay, this is what I need to get into. I choose mutual funds. Within that, again, there are so many different categories of mutual funds. Within each category, there are so many different companies that I can choose from, right? Looking at different ratios, expense ratio, exit load, so many different parameters that even these apps like Grow and Upstocks are really throwing at the investor. But what is the investor receiving is what I think is a slight blind spot. Especially, the more expertise you have in an industry, which everybody in this room, except for me, probably knows, right? So all of you all are experts on mutual funds and investments. I'm a complete outsider. But the real world is closer to my understanding of the market, right? They're not as experts as you are. They don't have the experience that you have. And the blind spots that you all may have, because you all are experts, you all are habituated to seeing the same numbers and data time and time again. And I was looking at some of the Excel sheets, the way you all go through so many rounds of, phrases and jargons and terms is very easy. It comes naturally to you all. It's a second language for you all. To a new investor, it's absolutely alien territory. Right?
So thank you. So we'll come back and understand what more needs to be done. But एक चीज ध्यान में आ रही है, which I have been reading in newspapers for a while now, and my next question is to Basha, is that we are hearing and talking about AI and ML and technology's role in the space of behavioral science. And I see you you were carrying a laptop bag. मुझे लग रहा है उसमें कुछ technology का सामान ही था. So you being an expert on that subject, Basha, can you throw some light क्या हो रहा है ये technology और behavioral science की दुनिया में?
Thank you, FIFA and Empower Education for having me here. It's a great question, Alok. If we go back and understand what behavioral science is, it is basically a science which is combining psychology and economics to understand or study the pattern in decision making of an investor. Why is somebody buying? Why is somebody selling? And factors that are influencing such decision, that is what factors are going in, and how as a business can benefit from understanding such patterns. Traditionally, behavioral science is carried out manually. So there are limitations on number of peoples and observations you can have. What technology is empowering those who are in this field of behavioral science is it's giving a power to observe behavior of many investors. If you manually do it, you may be tracking 100 investors' behavior, but with the use of technology, you can potentially track 100,000 investors and millions of decisions they make, sell, buy, etc. Now comes the role of AI and ML. What does that do for people like us, especially our colleagues sitting here as an entrepreneurs, is imagine you as an entrepreneur. The previous speaker spoke about Amrit Kal for India. So there are enough and more opportunities for you. But you have a limited resource, which is time. You don't have unlimited time to pursue every opportunity that is in front of you. Imagine you have a power with the help of a technology to predict which of those 100 clients you are following will likely to invest, and if he or she is investing, how long they are expected to stay invested, what is the profitability of that customer or an investor. So wouldn't it help you in a business as an entrepreneur? Imagine you have a huge potential client base of investors who you can pursue, but you can segment them into basis certain scientific, taking scientific variables into account, into most profitable, challenging, promising segment, and then you decide, okay, I want to chase these two segments and maybe leave out one for whatever reasons. And you as an entrepreneur want to forecast your revenues, sales. So you have the power to do that under certain market condition. If market conditions remain what it is, okay, this will be my gross sales and this will be my revenues. If market goes up, this will be my
Some form of
performance.
predictive analysis.
And you also go another extent, say, okay, if I do a marketing intervention, like I do 2 investor meetings, or I
That
send
is-
an email, so what would be the impact of that on business? Finally, recommending a appropriate product bases the investor behavior at a market conditions. We end up going what we think is right, but we don't know that appeal to our investor behavior or not. But if you have that foresight and you can understand, won't it help you as an entrepreneurs? And that is what AI and ML brings to the table. One raw material for AI and ML to work efficiently is data. We as a part of our BFSI industry have to be feel extremely good about the fact that we have large amount of data available, but we are not making that much use of the data, whereas consumer tech companies are making best use of that data. I think this is where I think the AI, ML and technologies will help empower everyone in the ecosystem, especially the MFDs, to unlock the potential which is there ahead of us.
Basha, is this like something which we are going to see by 2025, 28, 33, or is it already happening? That is the question on everybody's mind.
To some extent, it's already happening. For example, likes of banks have now building the AI ML tool to understand the behavior of their consumers and started deciding on intervention. For us, I think this is my recommendation earlier also. Since we have a smaller number of investors, if it can be done at an aggregate level, let's say FIFA takes up this and does analytics for the entire group, or Amphi does it, then the efficiency levels will go up substantially. If we do it at an individual levels with 1,000, 2,000 customer based behavior, maybe accuracy levels may not be that high. But if you do it at an aggregate level, data confidentiality can be ensured in all these ML and AI models. But if you do it at aggregate level, the efficiency levels will go up. You can predict a lot better. You can segment clients a lot better. You can also forecast more efficiently and then build a recommendation engine.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Basha, for that insight. Let me change tracks and sort of ask a question which somebody was in the morning, you know, on over tea, like asking me, कि ये behavior change किसकी जिम्मेदारी है? ये साली investor को हम कहते हैं, आप behavior the intermediary also का उनका behavior भी important है. कि is it only like an investor behavior that we are focused on? Behavior किसका? To simplify.
एक्चुअली प्रत्युष ने एक आंसर दे दिया कि अगर हम जो शब्दांजलि हमारी यूज हो रही है, अगर इन्वेस्टर समझ नहीं रहा है तो वो उसको फिर हैंड होल्डिंग की ऑटोमेटिकली जरूरत है. तो सेम क्वेश्चन गोज टू अस आल्सो. सेम द बिहेवियर इज वी आर आल्सो रिस्पांसिबल फॉर दैट बिहेवियर. तो जैसे अनन्या ने बात की कि अगर मार्केट महंगी लग रही है, हम रियर या फिर हम रियर मिरर के ऊपर देख के इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, तो सेम थिंग इज एप्लीकेबल टू अस एज एडवाइजर्स, टू अस एज मैन्युफैक्चरर्स. सो इट इज रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑफ एवरीवन इन द चेन. एंड बट यू नो, कैन आई रीच आउट टू दोस 3-4 करोड़ यूनिक इन्वेस्टर्स सडनली, और एवरीबडी कैन वी रीच आउट और उनको जाके ये साइंस की बारे बात करें? सो दो चीजें हैं मेरे ख्याल से. वन, वी कैन रीच आउट टू यू बेटर. आप बेहतर समझते हो, ये आपका बिजनेस पार्ट है, ये हमारा बिजनेस पार्ट है, एंड वी कैन यूटिलाइज इट. एंड सेकेंडली, अगर हम उसको यूटिलाइज कर रहे हैं, हम अपना कंट्रोल कर ले इस बात पे, कंट्रोल राइट वर्ड नहीं है, इफ वी बिकम अवेयर और हम जागरूक हो जाएं इस बात पे, तो ऑटोमेटिकली जो हम एडवाइस दे रहे हैं, व्हेन वी आर हैविंग कन्वर्सेशन विद आवर इन्वेस्टर्स इन वेरी चैलेंजिंग एनवायरनमेंट्स, कि मार्केट बहुत हाई है, मार्केट नीचे है, पैसा लगाना नहीं लगाना, कोविड हो गया, मार्केट गिर के निकालना, यू नो, व्हेन द इन्वेस्टर इज बिहेविंग in a very challenging environment, उस time if we are in control, we will be more able to automatically हम अपने investors को control कर सकते हैं to a level. हाँ बोलोगे नहीं, हाँ ये debate चलती रहेगी, but मेरे हिसाब से it is better that those we as an industry first take that responsibility, and then investors के लिए अगर आप मुझसे पूछो तो बहुत difficult है वो number या उस scale तक पहुंचना.
बिल्कुल.
I'll rather put it in a little different way. Let's take an example. We have a medical emergency. घर में किसी तबीयत खराब हो जाती है. What do? We do our best to find the best doctor who is available. Fair? आपने डॉक्टर देख लिया, पहुंच गए. Now what do we do the next? Do you tell the doctor, sir, I think CT scan आपको कर लेना चाहिए मेरे को? Doctor said sonography. No, sonography nahi, said CT scan is the best way to deal with my case. Why don't you do it? No, we don't. Why? Because we trust the doctor. Why? Because we know he is the man who is going to give me the best possible answer to my challenge. Now let's get back to our thing. The first thing that we all need to do, which is over there or over here, and I'm talking about as a segment, manufacturer or a distributor, intermediary, is to refrain talking the language that investor wants to listen.
थोड़ा strict होना पड़ेगा.
Because if he knows what is good for him, then he doesn't need us. And when it comes to doing it, you will actually have to pull the guy out of looking into the rearview mirror and say to him, sir, your investments are not to make the short-term goals. Your investments are there to fulfill the long-term goals. And the moment we start, and I'll tell you it's not easy, because I personally have spent more than a decade being an advisor working for Citibank, RBS and NAB and AMRO. And I know when we say the right language, someone else will say the language which a client wants to hear, and the client will go away. But it's again very easy to manage that piece as well. I personally done it. Please maintain the paper portfolio for those set of clients. Tell them, sir, you don't listen to me, please go to Mr. Alok. He's the best advisor as per you. Do it with him. This is a paper portfolio I'll keep maintaining with you.
Excellent.
Get it reviewed every 6 months. And see to it, does it work or not?
How many of us do it over here? Most of us? Intend to in some way or the other? Excellent. Basha, you wanted to make a point.
We Pratyush talk about how complex it is to understand mutual fund, and see, in the marketing world, there are a couple of trends that are emerging now. One, text is replacing, image is replacing text. Videos are becoming a lot more effective way of communication. So if you look at most of us as an industry, be it manufacturers or advisors, all our communication is a lot more heavy on text. I think if we can follow the what is happening in the world, marketing world, and we can pick up some learning from there, I think if we can convert into a simple language and more images in our communication and videos, short videos are becoming a lot more popular. I was told that now the average attention span has come down over a period of time, is not more than 20 seconds. So that's where reels are becoming a lot more popular than YouTube videos.
Very true.
So I think if we as a community will start thinking about it, like Anunaya said, that we link it to goals, but how do we communicate? Eventually you have to, either it has to be verbal or an email or this one. Can we start picking up cues from what is happening in the rest of the world?
Shortening the message, making it crisper.
Crisper, and it should be soothing to the eye. When we look at our communication, even on my own product notes, etc., too much text, too complex charts, etc., an average investor won't understand.
Thank you for being honest, Basha.
Thank you.
At times it just seems like there are two AMC holdings like talking to each other. नीचे से गाड़ियां जा रही है पर किसी को समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा क्या हो रहा है. Pratyush, from some other industry, you worked across so many industries, and I know that you had been honored by the Melinda Gates Foundation for a very, very critical project that was to bring about the sexual behavior shift in the country, in the teenagers. anything like which comes to your mind, which can be applied by the mutual fund industry, anybody, us, distributors, investors?
Absolutely, Alok. So coming back to your question of what is the role of the intermediary, like you said, how important is that? So the premise of behavior science is where there's a human, there will be biases, right? So we are saying the investors are biased and things like that. If you just kind of get into your shoes for a minute here, right? There will be biases even in the way we deal with customers, right? One key thing will be stereotyping. This person is very risk averse. This person is risk seeking. This person is, X type of person, Y type of person. And that's a classical bias that we operate with to make life easier for us, right? But the fact of the matter is, if we really empathize with the investor, every sum of money will mean a different thing for them. There's a principle called mental accounting, right? So some amount of money I've received as a Diwali bonus. What does that money mean to me as an investor? Some amount of money is just my regular salary that I get on a month-to-month basis. That may have a different meaning. So if we're able to understand what the investor really needs, what does that money mean to him or her? What is it that they want that to do for them? That's the role, and it's a very, very critical role, right? The investor himself or herself is not going to be able to see all of this. That's a blind spot for them. But your role is to really understand, okay, I personally am risk seeking. That doesn't mean my investor will be the same, but I need to understand what does this sum of money mean to him or her and suggest the right thing for them in that moment. Right? So there's a classical example of how the ATMs were launched all across the country, and we expected everyone to just kind of stop going to the bank tellers and go to the ATM and take out the money. The critical element in making that a huge success was actually the security guard who would stand and instruct people. So he would go with him or her and tell them, abhi card daliye, enter your PIN, paise aayenge, you'll get a receipt, do you want to see your balance on screen? And that person was the critical factor in getting ATMs to where they are today. Right?
Behavior shift.
The behavior shift. And that's the role that we need to play as the intermediary, to really understand the investor, simplify things for them, like Basha sir said. And of course, we have the expertise of, the industry stalwarts. We know all these terminologies and jargons. We have to curate the best thing for our investor in that particular moment.
Very well put, Pratyush. On that note, I'm seeing like there is some curiosity and anxiety in the audience. Maybe you may also want to ask questions to the stalwarts. Anybody who has a question at this juncture and you want to throw it at us, please. Yeah, please, you're loud enough. Huh. True. फ्रस्ट्रेशन आ जाता है कि यार ये तो नहीं निकालने ही वाला है पैसा यार जितना भी कुछ हो जाए. हाँ. So what does one do in this extreme situation?
Absolutely. So the key to behavior change is to acknowledge existing behavior. Right? It's not to start saying that this is the ideal thing. Why don't you want to reach there? आपको मतलब motivation है ही नहीं तो you're a hopeless case basically. So that's usually, we all get very frustrated when trying to change behavior. But one trick that Dr. BJ Fogg, he's the head of Stanford's Behavior Design Lab, and what he says is if you get somebody to do something very, very small, right? So if you have a lakh of rupees, I'm not asking you to put a lakh into something that I've recommended for you, but start with even 500 rupees, as low as that. Start with this small amount and we'll see how it goes in the next 6 months. So what we've realized is motivation is almost inconquerable. You cannot motivate somebody for too long. And if they're demotivated, you cannot kind of pull them back up. So the other way to enter and change behavior is really make things really easy, small and bite-sized for them. And maybe that as an attempt in the work we've done, for example, for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, simplifying behavior is a big, big hack to get behavior change to at least start off. Okay.
Adding to what he has said, my take is time is the best answer that can give. Yes, I think this is very, very typical behavior that you would notice from an investor, which is that he always carries the belief that he knows more than you. And the moment that to break that belief is not easy. Now, how can that be done? It can only be done by demonstrating it. Now, how would you demonstrate today for something that can happen in future? And that's exactly what I started off saying, that if you continue holding on with your perseverance, attempt to make what you really wanted to say, if not in a real way, in a paper way, I can tell you that guy is going to marry you and will start eating through your hands, because then he starts seeing value. Unfortunately, in India, what is the problem? India, the biggest problem is we don't underwrite advisory. We only give advisory. We don't share, we don't part into losses. We only show the greed. That behavior to break is not something that you and me can do ourselves. That needs to be done at a different level. But what you and me can do is that we can build trust. If not in a real form, it can be done in a paper form. Believe you me, the transition from paper to real will not take too long.
इंटरेस्टिंग. मैं सिर्फ आपके सुख में आपका साथ नहीं खड़ा रहूंगा, दुख में भी खड़ा रहूंगा. आई थिंक कबीर का एक बहुत फेमस दोहा भी है. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस फॉर द स्टॉलवर्ड्स, फॉर द पैनलिस्ट? यस सर. बहुत अच्छा सवाल है सर. थैंक यू.
हाँ, सो प्रत्युष तू बाद में आना. मैं इनका कुछ और साथ देता हूँ, शायद आपको क्वेश्चन डालता हूँ मैं, राइट? तो भाई सर, आपकी खाली बात नहीं है, मैं अपने ऊपर भी ले रहा हूँ. इंडस्ट्री के भी यही बिहेवियर था कि मार्केट और नीचे जाएगी. एडवाइजर भी घबराया हुआ था क्योंकि वो हम ही को सुन रहा होगा कि और नीचे जाएगी. सिर्फ बात इन्वेस्टर की नहीं है, इन्वेस्टर तो लास्ट कड़ी है उसके अंदर. तो काफी फंड में जब ये सोच रहे होंगे उस टाइम कि शायद मार्केट और नीचे जाएगी, और व्यू उसके अंदर. और जो आप बात कर रहे हो ना, सिर्फ कोविड की बात नहीं है. आज भी लोग 18,000 कैसे हो गई, ये तो वापस 8 आनी चाहिए. वो आज भी ऊपर है. तो ये क्वेश्चन जो है, सो देखिए ऐसा है, ये ना समय समय पे आते ही रहेगा. ये ऐसे नहीं है कि कोविड की बात है. मैंने तो मार्केट 1990 से देखी है. सो बट अच्छी बात, इंपॉर्टेंट बात क्या है कि उनका प्रश्न और आपका प्रश्न मैं दोनों लेके एक साथ इसका जवाब दे रहा हूँ. आज 150 लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं. हम लोग हम कन्वर्सेशन कर रहे हैं. दिस इज अ बिग अचीवमेंट because you are becoming aware that you need to do something when it's not about market being down. Opposite कर लीजिए, when markets are very high and it's about valuation, there's no number in this. तब वो निकलना नहीं चाहेगा. तो आपके ऊपर प्रश्न आता है, मेरे ऊपर आता है, हम क्या करना चाहेंगे, राइट? तो टाइम टू टाइम ये वेरी होते रहेगी. द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज, मैं ये मानता हूँ, हम टेबल के ऊपर बैठ के रख के ये बात कर रहे हैं, तो स्टिंक इज आउट, द फिश की स्टिंक हम दूर कर रहे हैं. मतलब अगर कोई बदबू है किसी चीज के, नेगेटिव है, हम दूर कर रहे हैं. सो हम जो मैंने पहले बात बोली, मैं वापस रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, वी कैन रीच आउट टू एन नंबर, राइट? और हर इन्वेस्टर यूनिक है, कंप्लीट है अपने आप के अंदर, एंड वी हैव टू रीएडजस्ट टू दैट. तो इसमें कोई परफेक्ट आंसर नहीं है. और आपके प्रश्न में एक हाइंडसाइट बायस है, यानी कि भूतकाल पक्षपात है कि हो चुका तो मेरे लिए बहुत इजी है बोलना. तो मैं अगर थोड़ी देर पहले जब आशीष सोमैया जी बोल रहे थे, तो 10 साल की व्यू, वो तो 3-4 साल पहले हमने पीफा के वहाँ प्रेजेंटेशन के अंदर आके हमने 10 साल की व्यू, उस टाइम 2030 की बात हम देख आ गए थे. लेकिन ये सारी चीजें होती रहेगी. हम सबको कहते हैं कि अल्टीमेटली करेक्शंस होंगे, मार्केट ऊपर भी जाएगी, बट तो एक बहुत बड़ा डिफरेंस है. सारी नॉलेज, सारी स्टैटिस्टिक्स, सारे इंफॉर्मेशन, सारे नंबर अवेलेबल हैं. तो ऐसा क्यों कि कुछ इन्वेस्टर ज्यादा पैसा बनाते हैं, बाकी नहीं बनाते हैं? बिहेवियर. जब कुछ खराब टाइम आता है, खराब टाइम, तब आप उस टाइम क्या बिहेव करते हैं? ओवर वैल्यूएशन या फिर जैसे आपने कहा करेक्शन, दोनों में ये मेजर डिफरेंस है. एंड दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस. लेट अस फर्स्ट बी अवेयर दैट वी कैन डू एंड एडवाइस एंड एड वैल्यू टू आवर इन्वेस्टर्स इन दैट. मैं तो इतना ही बोलना चाहूंगा, बट यस, अगर कोई और बात ऐड करनी हो.
Pratyush, you want to add further to this? Like everybody knows कि okay, we have even spoken about Warren Buffett. Everybody fondly talks about him, but the main reason behind him creating wealth is his own behavior. He just buys and holds, correct? So Pratyush, on that note, one takeaway for industry, us.
Look at an event as only itself, you're bound to take very reactionary measures to counter it or to feel very happy about it. So there was a study done where one set of investors was shown metrics very regularly, say once a month, and another set of investors with the same money, same fund and everything, were shown their investment metrics once a year. And there was a huge difference in behavior. The ones who were seeing it every month kept chopping and changing. So there was an action bias ki something has gone down, I need to shift something has gone up, maybe I should sell and realize that profit. But for the one who was seeing it only once a year, they were much more relaxed. They were kind of acknowledged that they were in here for the long run. And that made a huge difference in behavior. I don't know how that's possible to achieve, but that's an
Absolutely. So we'll come to that as well. And Basha, like one point for that matter, like which you think we need to change, and somewhere like a takeaway for the intermediaries as well that they need to change.
I borrow cues from both Anunaya as well as Pratyush. I think if we can start talking like Pratyush said, each one has a do that mental mass, and for every investment, we start linking that performance reporting to the goal. Instead of going and saying, okay, last 1 month returns are this, last 3 months return are this, your goal is to buy a house in 2030, and this is how the journey as on today. I think if you start change the goal post or anchoring to the goal instead of the last few months or a few weeks performance, I think we can moderate the behavior of our investors.
Excellent. Anunaya, what do you think? One key takeaway for all of us.
Again, like I always do, I would rather put it in a different way. Let's see our capital market, and from there I'll probably come to the point that you are making. We behave in a capital market as if there is no tomorrow, or as if I can't write it tomorrow. Now, what I'm trying to say, multiple times you would see the best of the brains of the markets. They will rate the company the half-time price to book or quarter-time price to book, and it reaches to a time that your reinvestment cost, is more than the current market caps. That's one extreme. The other extreme goes is, we rate the companies to a price to book of 50 or a 60 as if I don't write the company today, it's not available for me tomorrow. Classic behavioral extremes that you can notice. What I would say is, as an intermediaries, it's our responsibility to marginalize these behaviors and get it to the levels of medians, which is what we talk about, which is to be very clear that, we are in the business of managing greeds, keeping a check on fear. And in terms of managing greed, keeping a check on fear, you will have to have goals well defined. And if you have those goals well defined, do not tinker around, because if you would see through last 10 odd years, I can't think of a situation or an event which wouldn't have gone wrong for a market hadn't happened. Am I right? But where are we today? At a lifetime high. That's the beauty of this capital market. The factor of compounding will take care of your goals. Don't get deterred with the events.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. JP, one word, one line, key takeaway for all of us.
Alok, you will remember this, and because we are both Calcutta boys, we started our journey of life from Calcutta. So in 1997-98, we used to go to a building in Calcutta where we would go and say, ki, sir, aap FD बेचते हो, post office बेचते हो, mutual fund देखो, right? To a level when we're sitting at 40 lakh crore, right? And so I will say it's a wonderful job. Just we have to just keep evolving. The only takeaway I will say is always we have to put an investor before us always. We will challenge both sides. Always their interest needs to be taken care of first. And I think everything else will do.
All in place. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We feel complete. And, on that note, I would like to put a draw to this lovely panel discussion. Having said that, we have just started. The experts are going to be around with us for lunch as well. So all the other questions, please ask them during your lunch interactions. Is that okay? All right. Okay. Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much. I would request everyone for 2 more minutes, please be here because we need to felicitate our panelists as well for giving us such an insightful information. So I would first request Mr. Suhas Agole to please come forward. And I would request sir to please felicitate our panelists. One by one, I would like to invite our dignitaries to come forward to felicitate our panelists. I would also request Ms. Neepa Khatri to please join us on the stage. I would request Ms. Neepa Khatri to please join us on the stage. A small request to all our members in the audience to please wait for just 1 more minute. I'm sure everybody is hungry here, but just 2 more minutes. I would also request Mr. Sanjay Kotkar to kindly join us on the stage. Following him, I would request Mr. Uddhav Tulsi Bagole to kindly join us on the stage to felicitate our panelists. And last but not the least, I would request Mr. Manoj Munod to kindly come forward and felicitate our panelists here on the stage. Can we once again hear a thunderous round of applause for all our panelists on the stage, and thank you to our moderator as well for conducting this session flawlessly. Thank you. I would request Mr. Sandeep to kindly join us on the stage for a group picture. Yes. It's left. Yes. That's what I'm requesting Mr. Sandeep to come on the stage. Thank you so much once again. We are now going to take a quick lunch break, and I would request everyone to please gather back in the next 30 minutes from now. As Mr. Alok said, this has just begun. We have more sessions here lined up for all of you. So please join us here in the next 30 minutes for the next set of panel discussions and our speakers who are going to join us. Thank you.
Special thank you to my friends Rajiv Kumar, Bhavesh and Meenal. Thank you Ranjit Singh ji for joining.
बहुत बढ़िया है.